bored with all this YouTube politics, to be honest.
Are you ready?
We're back. The time is now.
NUFC Early Night News with Gary the Geordie Yum Yum, Andrew Boki, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 7:30 p.m. UK, 1:30 p.m. USA.
NUFC Talk.
Hey, hey.
Harry Morn and Tina Tooney is with us. So welcome one and all to this show. I think Chris is going to delve into, obviously, a few links that's been brought forward now. A lot of social media and everything, talking about links between Manchester United and Eddie Howe, and also the Chelsea job. No elite manager, they shout, but obviously some teams now are eyeing what is out there. And at the end of the day, I think, as we are all are aware, when you look at the likes of Rosinha going to Chelsea, it just shows you the low pool of managers that are out there if Eddie Howe does decide to do a sidestep and go elsewhere. So again, welcome one and all. Let's do the housework before we get into tonight's show. We're going to concentrate somewhat on Tonali tonight. So we're going to have a bit of a back look at Tonali and probably come up with some rationale of what's going on. And it'll be interesting to see what the panels have to say. So welcome to everybody watching across all the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Don't forget, people out there in viewer lens, smash that like button for us. It certainly helps us as a channel. Subscribe, totally free. Smash that bell for future content. You do get that 30-minute warning when we go live. We certainly always live, and we never edit this show. So what you hear is what you get. If you want to support us, you can become a monthly member if you can afford to do so. Again, just helps us bring more content to yourselves. If you've got a question for anybody in the panel, then try and put a Q in front of it. But it ain't guaranteed to be mentioned. We will do our best to try and get through as many as we can. So if you do want to guarantee it, then throw us a talk super chat by using the $, and that'll guarantee your message read out. And anybody that becomes a member during the show, or any of our beautiful members out there in Viewerland, will also get a mention and a thank with the highlights as we go through. So how are we on this Monday Eve? Still excited about yesterday's result. Not the best performance in the world. I mean, I was listening to you lads talk post-match. And by God, Mighty Wind, did you have a go, Chris? What's the matter with you? It's not like you. It's not like you to come out all guns blazing.
Well, I couldn't get away with the negative. I'm not going to get upset at that. You're not going to get upset. Get bloody happy, man.
Get excited.
Yeah, two wins on the trot, clean sheet, excellent performance. You know, the people are saying it was a poor performance. You know, again, if you look at the attacking momentum and the big chances we created, it was one-way traffic virtually. You know, they had it there.
If Chris won the lottery, he'd be pissed off because he didn't win enough.
I mean, it is. I mean, listen, it wasn't the world's best game to watch.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It probably. I'm not being funny, but we are reactional. When you're watching it live, I'm the same. I mean, I was there when we got absolutely spanked by Brentford 4, and I was with Neil and Amrit in the seats. And you know, I think you do get involved in the atmosphere of the event when you're live at any live event. But you do see a different game, as you well know, when you come back and rewatch it. You know, on TV, you probably see a lot more of the game and the game involvement when you're watching it during, a live commentary, especially us. And we said it's very bitty. You know, it was more of them coming to spoil what we were doing, and unfortunately, we weren't controlling the game at all, and we did seem to want to give the ball away. And again, it was the diagonal. Louis Hall didn't have a great game. Tonali didn't have a great game. Murphy didn't have a great game. So if you look across the diagonal, left to right, it seems as if there wasn't a single position, either it be in the defence, in midfield, or in attack, where we seem to control the game and create that many opportunities. And you're absolutely right. That I didn't feel as though there was any way that Crystal Palace were going to win that game. It was the sloppiness that gave us that the opportunities to them. And again, I spoke. You mentioned about J7, who I thought probably had the best game I've seen him play this season. But again, he was moving to his natural left-sided position, where he drags himself over to the left-hand side. Tonali then drags himself over to the right-hand side. And it sometimes leaves us vulnerable in that midfield, where opposition can direct through the pass lanes. And again, how many times did we lose the ball? And it was one out ball through the middle that sometimes saw us go 3v3 at the back. And if it wasn't for the likes of Malik Chow, that's got that recovery, and things like that. And again, it was a couple of good saves from Popey. It could have been, and remember Hughes missed that sitter from the 6-yard line going past. So that they had opportunities as well. And that's what I said. This is what makes me laugh with what you're going to put up on the screen, or what you have put up on the screen regarding momentum, because you're absolutely right. When I've gone through since August every single game where we have been on top and never scored. And then when you look at the opposition, they've seemed to have gone the other end during our progressive times during the match, our predominantly momentous game, and they've gone and scored against us. And that's what I'm saying. And we need to work out what's the reason behind that.
Finishing with, didn't I? But if you look at that, for anybody who's not familiar with this, the green bars are on Newcastle in possession and in Crystal Palace territory, so over the halfway line. There's a difference
between this graph and what you actually seen in the game.
Yes, well, you say that, and I didn't. Yes, that's exactly what I saw.
But it's not, because we never had control of the game up until the second half of the second half. So after 65 minutes, we did not have control of that game.
I disagree to that to a point, because, like I said, the only chances that they were getting was because we were allowing or giving the ball away cheaply. So it wasn't about us not having, well, I don't think control of the game. I just think two sides were very sloppy with the ball and gave the ball away so
we didn't have control of the game. That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, when we had the opportunities to make them pay, it was only us gifting them the ball back, and it was, like I say, the one ball through the middle that seemed to give them the opportunity to go through us and get something towards goal. But we think Mateta wasn't that good.
But then when we were given the ball away, but we were also then getting it straight back.
Yeah, because they were giving it away. That's what I'm saying. They never really looked as though they're going to hurt you, apart from a couple of chances where they had a breakaway, if you like. And there was one good play, and that's what I said when Will Hughes went through to the 6-yard box, and J7 didn't follow the runner. He was ball watching. And then, he puts it past the post. And, me and Boki had previously been speaking about Will Hughes, saying, he's such a one of those underrated players that can give you a great game, and he can also give you a bad game. And unfortunately, just literally as we said that, he goes and puts an absolute sitter past the post. And that was probably as big a sitter as, probably not as bad as Willock's, if I'm honest with you. But he certainly didn't get the racial abuse that Paul Willock has got. And like I say, Willock's miss didn't change the game. So I cannot understand where that abuse has come from and from whom. But whoever it is, I hope the strong arm will
crawl back under a rock.
Was the huge chance the one that Shaw slid to kind of interfere with?
What's that one?
Say again, sorry, Tina?
The Hughes chance, was that the one that Shaw kind of slid past as he was trying to finish it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he laid Hughes laid the ball off.
From Shaw.
Laid the ball off and followed,
Run.
ran into the box.
Willock's chance that everybody's saying was a sitter, I don't actually think he's missed a sitter, to be fair. He's trying to place it bottom right. It's went past, but goalkeeper was scrambling back across. They had a player on the left-hand post. I think he's trying to pick his spot at the bottom right. It's come across to him fast, and he's put it slightly wide. I mean, I would say Wissa's shot in the first half was worse than Willock's finish at the end, if I'm going to be honest.
I've just heard stop press that Willock has just put you top of his Christmas card list for next year.
I'll take his Christmas card. I'll put it up on the wall.
Absolutely.
Do you know what you're saying though, Gary, right? And all these match analysis, right? It's all right if you want to analyse the match per se, right? And where people are getting confused, it's almost it gets wrapped up in an analysis of the team, all right, of the club. And we haven't seen our proper team yet this season, right? So every game up till now has been basically a makeshift team because we've had key players out, this, that, and the other. And so you can't be too hard on the performances. But what you've got to do is sit back, look at the bigger picture. Now it's coming to fruition. We've got Wissa back now, right? We're going to have Voldemort fit. And we're now, for the second half of the season, going to see the team that Eddie picks as his first team and his strongest team. And then that is the one that we need to be looking at and not analysing, but appreciating and seeing how it works out.
Well, judging them on. Yeah, but having said that, the counter argument to that is that yes, we've had, the fact that I don't care what anybody says, the fact that we didn't have a striker at the start of the season cost us 7 points. I don't care what anybody says. I will maintain that. And then when we got the strikers, we lost the fullbacks. But nonetheless, you're just talking about 2 or 3 players there out of a squad of 25. And so the counter argument to what you're saying, Gary, is that 2 or 3 players out the team shouldn't completely derail the whole team.
Not necessarily. What I am saying is that the team was out of shape, right? We didn't have anybody up on the front like that would give us the options that Wilson and Isaac would give us now, and you saw it, and it's bearing fruit already. You saw it yesterday. We've got a player now, a striker with pace and skill, who is an out-and-out striker, knows how to pull it, as you said earlier before the show, knows how to pull the defence out of shape, all this type of thing. And he's got pace that scares the defence. And once he goes through, nobody's catching him. And we've got that now. We haven't had that all season. And it's completely changed the whole complexion of how we move forward and how the wide players see the pitch, because we've got a guy there now that actually should be there. And it's been missing all season.
But guys, let's not look backwards on this now. We've started this run. We've all said we need to go on a run. It's not a discussion now about what's happened in the past or Eddie Howe or anything like that.
No,
it's now a discussion of how far can we go on this run, and how far up the league can we get, and how far can we fill the boots when we are in January on this quite good run of games for us. So you've got to see. You've got to see. Let's not look backwards now. Let's just look at the positives from the last two results, and let's move forward with that now.
Okay, I'm not looking backwards. What I'm doing is is displaying what we've been missing and why the results and the team haven't been performing the way we know they can, because there was a key ingredient missing. Now we've got
Well,
that.
Gary, let's stop that
No,
one.
mate, please
Let me
All
just
right,
put my
you
point
talk.
across.
You
Yeah,
talk.
in regards to
You
that,
talk.
let's not look back at what's happened in the past and try to justify it with what we know now. Let's just say what's happened in the past's happened. We are where we're at now.
Okay,
We've gone
that's
on
not
this
what I'm
we've gone on to this little run. We've got a good chance of it carrying on. Let's just hope it carries on and carries on. And what I don't want is you guys using this now, because we have had a couple of results to justify what's happened in the past.
Right, can I
Anyway.
continue now, Bogey, please? Right, so what I was saying was that we were missing a key ingredient, and it was affecting how the team performed. Poor Valdemada was asked to get in there and play in a position that wasn't his natural position, but he did his best and he did a sterling job. But now I've seen it when he came on as a sub, and then I saw it yesterday when he started the game. The whole team, they built into it over the first half, and it grew and it grew and it grew, and then it came to light in the second half that the team realised we had a man sitting on the central defence's shoulders waiting for just all he needed was a ball through and he was away. We haven't had that all season. And now the team is playing again and feeling like it was at the end of last season, where it's happiest, where this team is built around a player who sits like a number 9 who sits on the defence's shoulders and give him a ball through. He's gone. You're not going to catch him. It's a one-on-one, and it was beautiful the way when he got through. His head was straight up, looking round for his options. So Gordon on his left, and instead of go for glory, he put the ball across to Gordon because he knew that was a guaranteed goal, and I just felt great about that, and I thought, that's it. That's what we've been missing. Here it comes. And you watch. It's not a case of going on a run. We've only won 2 games. But you watch now. Our performances are going to improve game on game on game, because now Wissa is going to become an integral part of the whole shape of the attack.
So with that in mind, one person whose performance needs to improve for us to get our best form last season is Sandro Tonali, which Gary was talking about earlier on. So you've got some stuff on Sandro.
It's an interesting thing because, like, you listen, and again, everybody's got a point of view, and I sometimes can't I don't understand when Gary was just saying about not having the strongest squad, and when we've got the strongest squad out there. The biggest problem for me at this present moment in time is, one, we've got a midfield that aren't firing on all cylinders, and we've got 2 out of 3 attackers, doesn't matter who's up top, as in the central part, whether it's Voltamada or Wissa. You can't rely on one player, whoever's playing, to get you the winning goals all of the time. What we need is contributions from everywhere else on the field of play, and for me, the biggest letdown for me has been wing play. And we've literally had to rely on slight adjustments to move and get the game going. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't until I watched the game back and realised that little movement from Eddie Howe, and again, it's something that was never mentioned post-match, and it certainly wasn't mentioned by myself during the game, because, commentating, you do miss that flow. When you saw moving Tonali out and putting Bruno who does take a little bit more of a risk playing as that deep six than Tonali does, you do get that different momentum. You do get that different forward movement. And he does include a lot more of the wing play because he goes up and supports them. I'm going to put the pass lanes on first, just so you guys can see what I mean about the way J7, who you guys, again, rightly so, said he had a good game, thought it was his best game this season. But again, has this habit of going left of centre. And again, I don't know whether that's, again, that mindset of covering the left back and trying to keep Anthony Gordon further up the field. It may have been something that was discussed by the gaffer to say, listen, I want you to get in between these two so there's a short ball rather than the longer option down the line all the time, especially playing against a back five. Have we got somebody there that can just play the diamond or the triangle and see what we can do with Anthony Gordon, Lewis Hall and Shaw being that diamond, if you like. And then you've got the likes of Tonali, as you can see now here on the halfway line. And again, when you see Tonali's natural ball play, he does tend to move over to that right-hand side. And sometimes I think it leaves a massive gap between 7 and 8 in the middle of the park that allows opposition to pass one ball. And if you looked yesterday, and this is the reasons why I was saying it was one ball that Crystal Palace had to do. And fortunately for us, Johnson didn't have a great game because there was a couple of times if he'd have looked up, there was a ball that he could have played through to Mateta. He, again, delayed his pass or felt a little bit greedy as if he was going to take it on himself. It took a good save from Pope at the one attempt anyway that he got through us. But it all came through that channel. And that's why I think the biggest thing for me, and I've said it for a very long time, and I know people go on at me when I keep saying, I've said this previously, Tonali isn't a natural six. And it sticks out like a blind cobbler's thumb. And I don't know what Eddie Howe sees in Tonali because you are losing such a player higher up the field of play who's a natural 8 box-to-box player because of the way he plays, his natural athleticism. And what he sees, and again, happy to run in behind last man up top into the box. He only scored 4 goals last season, and he got 2 assists. So he's in and around the box. It's not as if he's going to change everything for Newcastle, but you saw glimmers of hope. And, you know, his first game against Aston Villa, if you look at that controlled volley, where he literally ran from the edge of the box through the 2 central defenders and got to that cross of Anthony Gordon's and put it coolly into the nets. The return ball from Isak against Manchester United over the top. And again, a player who's willing to run in. This is a player who plays it in a natural 8 position, plays at international level at that position, played at his previous club at that position, never in a 6. And for me, what you get is a player who, again, sometimes I feel as though it's rabbits in headlights with Tonali. When the gaffer tells you something, is there the instructions being lost in translation to a degree? And that
I don't think it is.
If I ask you, hold on, guys, hold on. When if I ask you guys to jump on one leg and bark like a dog, sometimes you'll ask me for the reasons why. What's the rationale behind it? I've often seen some of the younger ones. I've said, you know, they're quick and willing. The likes of Miley, he's quick and willing to give Bruno the ball all the time. He's his senior player, so when Bruno always wants the ball, there could be a pass further forward, but he'll want to pass that 5-yard ball into feet because Bruno wants the ball. Tonali's the same type of player. And that, for me, is, like I say, the one change I would make in this squad that could balance this squad up. And that is moving players around, and it will be a rotation. But Wynn said yesterday that Miley, you see Miley as that basic 6. And I see that too. I think Miley could be the one that plays the Neves role that can come and bounce between the 8 and the 2 centre halves, which frees up your fullbacks to go forward, and it creates balance either side. The one thing I don't see in Tonali is him going forward. And I've got some stats that I'll throw up in a minute to show you the regression of Tonali from last year playing in the 8 until he was moved into the 6. And some of it is higher than it was last year, but other parts of his game has been a massive drop-off. Gary, you was going to say something. What was it, dude?
Yeah, right. These things, although they'll be valid observations, right? The the thing about it is Eddie hasn't got his first 11, settled 11. The team that he would
But
pick week in, week out. Hang on, please. And so therefore players are being asked to do things that they probably wouldn't be asked to do or playing away, right? Because it's all about compensating for this, that, and the other. And once again, I keep coming back to this fact that we were missing the number 9. And so the team has been playing around that all season. All right. Now, when the team, and it's still got to come yet, when the team start being the solid unit that is our first 11 and strongest 11, then comments, like about Tonali and how to play him and best way to play him, you'll have to see how Eddie then chooses to play these players, because he'd probably play them in a slightly different way because the team is different, the dynamic is different. And so I wouldn't say it's unfair, right? But I think it might be just um,
But are you saying that in Eddie's preferred team, he wouldn't see Tonali as the 6? Because I think he does.
no. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying is you'll see what Eddie thinks is when it happens. It hasn't happened yet, right? And I think it's a bit premature to start saying like, well, his best position is this and his best position is that. Because until he's playing in the team that Eddie picks as this is my team, then you don't fully know. So I just think that these comments are, I don't know, they're just a bit premature, and
okay,
Right.
okay. So
Okay.
guys, just hold on to that. Then. Just hold on to that because
can I just ask Tina,
go
can I
on,
just
Boki.
ask Tina a quick question? Tina, what do you think of the midfield this season? How do you think the three have been playing together?
Midfield this season, if you had asked me that before yesterday, I'd probably have a very different question, a different answer to what I've got now, because I thought yesterday they were much better. I actually even think Tonali played better than he has for a while.
Yeah.
I think Tonali isn't a natural number 6. Gary's right about that. I think the problem is that we've got like 6 number 8s, and Joe Linton, now that he's playing much better than he has been again, we've seen what he brings to the side. So then you've got to choose between Bruno and Tonali to sit in the 6. And if you look at Bruno, I mean, one of his strengths, and we saw it yesterday, was from that position of the right hand side 8. He's the one who can put that pass through through defenders. I mean, I think he put Wissa through at one point, definitely. He had another one, I can't remember who the other one was to, possibly either Barnes or Gordon, but Bruno in that 8 is, I mean, that's where he needs to be. He likes to be involved in the attacks, and I think Tonali sitting in the 6, I mean, he looked a bit more composed about it yesterday, but it's not his natural position, and I think that's the one thing that even people who aren't happy with Miley at right back have to look forward to, is Miley, while he's been playing at right back. Like, if you look at his pass distribution yesterday, a lot of it very simple passes, but he's got something in his unlocked defence as well. I think his experience that he's gaining at right back is going to then translate into him being the natural number 6 that this team's been crying, that I've been asking for months now. I've said that if the team had a natural number 6 and you could have Bruno and Tonali pushing forward and then a more attack and roll, that would be, pretty much one of the missing pieces of the puzzle for our team. So that's something that I'm looking forward to see if that does happen. But I think yesterday the midfield looked like the best midfield in the Premier League that we've been waiting for them to look like. Like, when they are on fire, they are 3 fantastic players. And the problem, I think, is fitting 3 number 8s into a 4-3-3 formation where you can't get 3 number 8s.
Except we're all kind of missing the elephant in the room here,
Doesn't
which
know.
is Tonali's form. You know, because last season Tonali rarely misplaced a pass, and
Well, the thing,
this
yeah, go on, Win. Sorry.
this season it's been noticeable how many times he has passed the ball straight to the opposition.
Now the thing is, this is what I was talking about is people getting caught in the moment and people making judgments on things that now, right? Rather than sitting back and looking at what could be contributing to this, right? Now there could be many reasons for this. Now I thought Tonali played well yesterday. I thought he was better than he'd been in the last couple of games.
Absolutely.
Now so there's probably there's reasons for things that we don't know about, right? That
Well, there's one of them there. My little Mo 17 saying Sandro Tonali's wife, who I thought had the baby,
it could be.
has not had their baby yet, but it's expected this month, as they announced in August 25.
And it could be something as simple as that, where he's distracted mentally, right?
Absolutely.
Because that guy is as genuine as the day is long. And he wears that shirt with pride, and he gives it 100% every time he's on the field. So I'm not going to sit and say he's had maybe he has a drop in form, right? But the thing is,
well, there's no doubt about that. He has had a drop in form.
But he didn't yesterday. You saw the old Tonali starting to come back a bit, and you saw the team in that second half. You saw the team starting to find its feet again and find its shape. All right, Palace won that hard, and they were missing key players, but I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in how the team communicated with itself and the passing, the movement, and how we were playing our shape, this, that, and the other. And I saw it actually coming back, you know. And I'm just going to go on about it and repeat myself, but it's just all down to that having a number now.
Yeah, right. Okay,
well, let's
we've
have a
got
look at
that.
some figures then. Let's get some figures on the board because, like I say, this will hopefully show some indifferences between what everybody sees with their eyes. So again, you can see passes attempted 48.4. So he's up on this one because he's playing a little bit deeper. He obviously hasn't got opposition around him, so he's more involved in the game in that deeper role. And his passes attempted have increased slightly. Pass completion is exactly the same. It's very stable. Like I said, there's no ups, there's nothing less from last year to this year. So again, it's funny what you see with your eyes compared to what is factual. Progressive passes, there's more progressive passes this year from him being in the six. So again, that's another increase and an improvement. Key passes is up again because again, he's got a bit more time around. But like always, and like I say, for me, the one thing that we always seem to do is point a finger of blame to somebody, whether it be managerial, whether it be individual players. Like I said, it takes 11 players out on the field of play and individual characters that get you a win at the end of the day. The one thing for me, though, is obviously the key passes is massively improved. Chances created, again, is up. So what it's looking like from across all of these metrics is he's okay in the six. The one thing where there's a drop-off is the numbers of bodies then that we actually get in and around the box to get these chances created regarding goals for. And I think that if you have a look at Newcastle's goals for column this year, the biggest one for me has definitely been that we aren't scoring the amount of goals that, as Win showed before, momentum should allow you, because we are actually involved a lot. And I think this is where Eddie Howe's metrics and his statement, when he says you're not looking at stats, stats only mean so much. And I also agree with that. What we've got to start doing, and it's more wing play than actually Tonali in the middle, I'd like to see Tonali more in the free role, in the 8, where he's got that ability, again, because he's got that recovery pace as well, where he can go box to box. He can cover a lot better than Bruno. And I think you have got a perfect player to play that box to box role. Again, the one thing that you've noticed here, again, his shots have decreased. Goal output, completely nothing. He's got 1 assist all season this season. And again, that's because he's not involved in any play up top. And like I said, the one chance, and again, if you think about the way Eddie Howe looked at the game, read the fact that we're not taking many gambles, you get a fullback assisting a number 6, 2 supposedly defence-minded players within the side in the most attacking area of the field. Both
Gary, that's a bit unfair, because for most of this season we've been on the back foot. So we've not been marauding forwards like we used to. So
well again, you have to have a look, Gaza, at the stats as the momentum. Again, what Newcastle have failed to do this season, more than any other season, is punish teams when they've had the game and the momentum going forward. Every team will have their moments. Every team will have that moment. And what you get there is a time of we are sometimes defensively vulnerable, and we have been to set pieces this year more than any year. Do you want to do
a couple of super chats there? What was I saying? Are you wearing lipstick tonight, love? No, not wearing.
I am. Yes, it's cherry red. Was I?
Nice.
And our Lord and Supermaster saying, sorry, what you see is factual. Statistics and metrics can be interpreted in different ways. More information will be, that's what he's getting at. More information will be available for our members soon. That's announcements to come, folks, about what you're going to get for our new memberships.
And again, where he is really strong, again, if you look at it, we always see him on the tackles. In actual fact, in the 6, he's less of a tackler than he is in the 8, as you can see here. And again, this metric is from the whole season of last year. So numbers are a little bit dismayed because we've only played 20 games this year. So we've still, a lot of games still to go. Interceptions is much better. Again, being able to see the game in front of him. He's, again, a really good player when it comes to reading games, so he's very good at that. And the same with ball recoveries, much stronger than in the 8, because he has got that yardage on players.
With stats, right, they can be so misleading because Tonali's a sort of player, right? You're saying like tackles and that type of thing. Tonali is such a good player that he actually gets to where the ball is going to go before the other player does. So he doesn't have to make the tackle because he's already there when the ball comes. And so stats can be very, very misleading. That's not a criticism on you or what you're saying, but
again, this is what I said, though, Gaza. And it's like Tony's just put in the chat there. These numbers don't really tell me anything. It could be a 2-yard pass. Again, we always hold candles to certain individuals, and that's true across the board. I've read I've listened to what Wynn was talking about Miley, who again I thought had an amazing game for where he played, and again J7. There's a lot of players and a lot of people hold the candle to J7. Any man, coach, depending on what they are in a team, will tell you to keep hold of the ball. It doesn't matter whether the ball's 2 yards, 200 yards, as long as it goes to a player in your shirt. And for me, the biggest criticism for Newcastle this year, and we talk about 2 and 10-yard passes, is we've not even been able to do that at times. And that's not just Tonali's fault.
Gary,
the only thing I would say about...
Can I just pick up on this point in regards to Tonali? In regards to him, his performance has dropped off over the last few, probably month or so. We're all aware of that. But it's part of that because he's having to do so much because none of the front 3 have been firing. So with front 3 have been really, really poor. No matter what formation, even with Barnes has been a bit better, but no matter which 3 we've been playing, so he's not playing the same game as he has been. He hasn't got that out ball. He hasn't got the chance to, there isn't the movement up there. They're not firing on all cylinders. So I was noticing that Tonali's performance has dropped because he's been absolutely brilliant over the last few seasons.
Yeah.
And in regards to this season, because the rest of the team's performance has dropped off, it's automatically had an effect on Tonali as well.
Yeah, but did you know? I'm going to put this into a sentence that I've actually written down. Tonali is touching the ball more, progressing play more, and creating more chances, but is finishing fewer moves himself. I think that makes that statement complete. What you've got,
Is that not because you haven't got the players up front who are progressing from those forward passes?
No, it's tactical, isn't it?
We have now because we've got a number 9.
There's no tactic to the process not being progressed. So yes, what you're saying right. He is. If that's right, he's doing more. But sometimes it's that A, because he's having to, because we're losing the ball a bit more, and B, because when he does pass it forward, it doesn't move forward from there. It sort of breaks down when he passes it forward.
I'm going to agree with Tony T here, because if you look at those statistics, you would argue, by whatever logic you care to use, that Tonali is having a better season this season than he did last season. I would argue that eyesight tells you that he's not.
Differently. Yeah, tells you differently. And that's
Can
what
I
I'm
ask
saying.
a question in regards to the Tonali situation? So it kind of links in pretty closely to what Boki said. I was going to ask a question earlier on, but I couldn't find the gap, which is the team this season overall. There was like a massive spell where we weren't moving well off the ball. There was a lot of bad play, mostly from the front. And I'm thinking maybe that a lot of because statistically we're saying, Tonali isn't really underperforming, and we've seen something creep into Tonali's game that we've never seen before this season, which is a visible show of frustration. Like, we've never seen him show emotion like this, to where now he's started doing a Bruno sometimes when he wins possession. So my thought is that maybe the reason that people have started picking Tonali out as an underperformer is because when the team is playing, off pace, Tonali's such an amazing player that maybe people are just kind of hoping that when he touches the ball, something magic is going to happen. And then when it's not happening, people are kind of getting down on him because of that, rather than anything he's actually doing.
I don't think anybody's getting down on him. But here we go again, saying Tonali's not the issue. He scored more non-penalty goals in 25 than our left winger. Our winger's drop-off is what's affecting our game more than anything. And again,
this is what I was saying earlier, right? We haven't seen the proper team yet, right? Did I mention that we've got a number 9 now with?
You did, yes. Ad infinitum, ad nauseum, you might say.
Right. So now we've got the proper shape of the team. The players can now start playing a more natural game, and these things will happen. And because players have been having to compensate for things and performances, Tonali running himself ragged, and it's all right for people to say, oh, well, he's been, he hasn't been the way he used to be, and this, that, and the other. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's affecting players, this, that, and the other. We don't know why Eddie picks a plan, right, that we think doesn't work, but he's trying to compensate for things as much as the players are. So all this goes into the big picture. And what we've been doing is we've been riding one luck and trying to get through it the best we can without a complete team. Now we've got the shape that we want and we need. You watch, we'll start kicking on now.
Well, let's hope you're right.
No, we'll start kicking on now because players like Murphy and Barnes, they need that. They need to know that guy's in the middle, right? And Tonali and Bruno need to know that he's there, so that he is such a pivotal for us, for our team and the team Eddie plays. It's such an important and pivotal position, and you see now that the wingers will be becoming more proficient. And it's not a case of him being number 9, so he's got to score the goals. Goals will be coming in from all over because that guy is going to start taking the central defence's attention away from everything else,
Right.
and the other players are going to come in. You watch our form.
We've got your message. We've got your message, Gary. Right?
Well, like I said,
Did I
only
mention?
time will tell.
Did I mention about the number 9?
Yes.
But again, the way I look at this is the fact that I think the one thing that this does prove is whoever else is playing, and the only person at the minute seems to be getting involved in and around the box is Bruno. So, but again, that's why I mentioned that. It's a fact that he's not the one being able to pass the ball, even though he's doing it more. He's better on the progressive passes, creation, and everything else than he was last year when everybody put him on that pedestal. And yet he isn't the one now breaking those lines, getting into the areas, as Gaz has just said there, pulling defenders away from other areas because of his runs and making opportunities himself. So I do think that's a massive thing. You can't be in two areas at the same time. So there's definitely a headache for Eddie Howe. This is his comparison to Bruno, because obviously we saw Bruno drop into the 6 and then obviously gets his goal from the 6th position. Again, very similar type of metrics regarding passes attempted. Tonali's 10 behind. Completion, virtually the same. Progressive balls, there's just like one progressive pass. And this is what I said. You've got 2 players in the midfield that want the ball to feet because they are 2 very dominant players with that ball. So for me, the thing that Eddie Howe has to do is find the right place for them. And again, is Bruno more of that natural 6, even though, we've seen him sometimes give the ball away in those deeper positions, but because he's more willing to take a risk than Tonali is, and that's why I mentioned, is the information being lost in translation of what Eddie Howe wants him to do playing in that 6 role? Because to me, sometimes I find him too deep and he's between the lines rather than he's neither going forward and supporting the front line or is he back far enough to support the defensive too.
But do those stats not belie your original stats? Where as in you said that the reason he's got more passes and more involvement this season than last season was because he's in the 6, so he's getting it. And yet there we have Bruno, who plays in a more advanced role, who's got more passes attempted.
Yeah, but like I said, Bruno into the 6 win. That's what I said. When you've got both of them, if you look at the pass lines, you virtually could see them skipping up the field of play, holding bloody hands. They were that close together. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes Bruno and Tonali seem to want to be in the same pockets of space because they both love the ball to feet. Go on, mate.
Tony T saying, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but let's speculate anyway. I think it's because Howe stopped buying the players' favourite cupcakes.
Oh, that's a fair point. That may be it.
Yeah, it's got
Can
a
I
chance,
just say though,
especially with hundreds of thousands on it.
And instead of looking at stats, can we look at what's actually been going on the pitch? We can all see that.
No, because that's copyrighted, mate.
No, I'm saying from our own eyes over the games. We all know Tonali's not been playing to the best he has, and there are mitigating circumstances in that we've talked about already. But let's face it, neither has Bruno. Bruno hasn't been brilliant this season, and neither has J7. I do have an apology to make to J7. I did watch the game back the day, and he wasn't quite as bad as I thought he was. Certainly wasn't man of the match, but he did help. No. He had to help cover a lot at the left back position because Hall was having an off game. So I do have. If I make a mistake, unlike some people, I'll admit up to it. So I made a mistake there. He did have an okay game.
Hang on. Hall was having an off day.
Yeah, yesterday he was.
In defense, not going forward when he was good going forward, But in defence, he had a few ropey moments going backwards.
Well,
And
that's so.
Incredible.
I think if you look at J7's heat map, which you love to do, I've discovered so far a score of the day, which has been a revelation to us.
What?
If you look at J7's heat map, where he was for the majority of the game, he was backing up Hall quite a bit.
So
But is that?
you're going to be critical of Hall.
Yeah. I'll be critical of anybody. I'm not being critical of him across the season, but I'm saying he didn't have. He's been brilliant all season, but he didn't have the best of games yesterday.
Well,
I thought he had a fantastic game yesterday.
I'm
Pushing forward, I agree completely. But you watch back the game when and look at him defensively. There were some ropey moments going backwards.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see that much of him going forwards, if I'm absolutely 100% honest with you. And, you know, I know you guys, like I said, you put people on a pedestal. That's entirely your prerogative.
Second on, he was bombing forwards with a ball.
Six defensive contributions, one tackle, two interceptions, two clearances, one blocked shot, two recoveries.
And he had that in the first half.
There you go. There's his pass map. I've got it on the screen for you.
Whacked that ball from outside the penalty area, which the keeper made an excellent save. But that was going like a rocket.
Yeah, it was straight at him, though. Wasn't an excellent save, Gaz. It was straight down his throat, mate. But I'd have saved that bloody thing. I mean, you can see he didn't get past the fullback once, not once down the line yesterday, because they were playing five at the back, and that's why I said that's when you're reliant on your midfield closing down. And this is what I said. Sometimes there's passages of play, there's tactics, passages of play. I don't know. People say there's no managers these days. Well, what's Ancelotti? Ancelotti's a manager. He's not a coach, because he's too old now, hands-on. So he's a manager of the team. Eddie Howe likes to be hand-on. He's a coach. But sometimes I think he has to manage certain criteria of the game. And I think sometimes...
Can I just clarify? I'm not saying Hall was awful yesterday by any stretch of the imagination.
We're talking of levels of play, aren't we?
Yeah, all I'm saying is Hall, Joe Linton, in regards to my commentary on him after the game, which I think we have to remember that me and Gary sat and watched the game, and it is different. Sorry, commenting on the game, it is slightly different in regards to just watching it naturally. And when I did watch it back, I realised I was a little bit harsher on the lad. And as I say, he did help the left back out, I think is probably the way to put it, rather than saying Hall. As I say, never said Hall was terrible. But in regards to that, I just think it's worth pointing out why Joe Linton didn't push forward as much as he did, was because he was helping out a lot more defensively.
But you see, I look at this passing line here, where I've got the passing metric on here, and I look at, was the fact that J7 was a little bit further over to the left-hand side, was that blocking Hall's run sometimes? Because J7 occupied a lot of that space too. So, like I said, there's always going to be, an opinion on whether a player plays well or doesn't do exactly what he does. And it depends on the type of candle you light before him. I see the game, and again, I don't hold a candle on any single player, and I'll call out a player if he's having a bad game. I just think, like you said, when you see these lads play to their ability, there's too many players at the moment together as a squad that aren't hitting the heady heights. And what's more for me is the fact that when you look further up the field, where to me it's more of an issue, is we're reliant on two men. And when you look at the likes of our defender, Dan Byrne has got the same amount of bloody assists type of thing as some of our attacking players. It comes to something. You have to ask the question, what's going on further up the field? Because at the minute, all I've heard is Tonali's the problem. Tonali's drop-off has affected the whole of the team. And the reasons why I've put this up today was to show you guys that, in actual fact, certain parts of his game has improved, not dropped off. The thing is, like I said, you can't get a player playing in the six, create, and then go up into the box and finish off, unless you're taking, like Bruno does, the gamble, the chance to run in late. And that's why I mentioned a loss of translation.
Can I just say to the chat as well, there's been a couple of comments saying, obviously, what's happened to the news and in regards to the news about Newcastle. That's coming up at 9:30 with Chris and the new team. So it will be discussed in this video, but it's coming up a little bit later.
I don't do the.
I think everybody's perception of things is skew with, right? Because we've been playing. Well, it's like a boxer. We've been boxing with one hand tied behind our backs in a way this season. Nothing's been right, and we've struggled.
And now we've got Whizzer up front, so we're going to free the other hand and go and knock everybody out.
Knock everybody out, yeah.
Right, when we've got that. Right. Now,
excellent.
But it's, yes, I think the negativity and the criticism of, somebody has had a couple of bad games, this, that, and the other. We haven't done too bad, Look where we are. And in a couple of good results, we're going to be right up there in the mix and at the top of the table again. And for a fact that once the team gets momentum, it's going to be good again, And so people need to stop being so critical about, if somebody has a bad game, all of a sudden it's in the chat, get rid of him, he's no good. If we were listening to the people in the chat, we'd be getting rid of a player every game, right, and signing another one to play in the next game. And if he didn't play well, we'd be getting rid of him and signing another one. We just got to go with it and get through. If it's been an uneasy start or half a season, so be it. It happens. It happens. And we just trust in Eddie to get it right, trust in the players to get it right, and then off it'll go. And you can call me.
Can I just ask Tina a quick question? What's been your thoughts on Tonali this season?
Tonali, I don't ever pick apart players. I think, there's been performances that haven't been fantastic, like where people have then had to scapegoat people, but I don't think Tonali's been dreadful or anything. I certainly think yesterday he performed well, along with all of the team. But just by the way, on that, we are now 2 games into the 20-game win streak that I said that we were going on. So just kind of put that. Right. But no, Tonali. Right. Yeah, Tonali hasn't, I think, again, moving people around and trying to figure out a formation that was going to work. Added with the fact that we were a little bit more defensive earlier in the year, and I know Tonali had a couple of games where he was sick. There's been performances where he hasn't been the absolute magician that we know him as, but I've certainly never capitulated into thinking, oh, that's it, Tonali's finished now. He's a world-class centre midfielder.
Tina, he was all over the place again yesterday. He was all over the place.
Yeah, I thought he played well. I was shocked to hear anybody say that he hadn't played well yesterday. I was honestly ready to come on here and be like, oh, those 3 midfielders are back to their best. We're going on this streak.
Which is exactly what I said. Exactly what I said when I got back in after the game.
That's why I freed you from jail yesterday.
I got shot to bits.
I don't want to be Mr. Negative. We weren't back to
do.
Yes, we weren't back to our best yesterday. I'll hold my hands up and say, look, we've had 2 great results. It's great to see we're back winning games. Great to see the team playing a little bit better. But it wasn't a great performance yesterday. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. It wasn't. No. Let me use a bad chance. It wasn't a great performance. It wasn't a great sort of. It's not a game changer. I think we have to remember who we've been playing and what's been happening. So let's not play the lads down, but let's also not hype it up so far and say everything's rosy in the garden now. It's certainly not. I'm not. I'm saying we've done well. With all you can beat is what's in front of you. But what I'm saying is what's been in front of us for the last couple of games hasn't been great. So, yes, we've done well. We've got the points that we needed. We're moving up the league. So let's not be negative. but also let's not hype it over the top, saying this is now that we're playing
Well, hang
absolutely
on.
brilliant and
None of
doing
us are.
brilliant. We're
Bogey, none
not.
of us
We're
are.
not
Only
yet.
you are.
Sorry?
None of us are being negative. Only you are.
I'm not being negative. I'm just saying don't overhype what's happened in the last two games. We haven't played brilliantly in the last two games. So, I agree.
I thought
we've
when
done
I
well.
came in from the match yesterday, I thought I'd watched a game there that I thoroughly enjoyed, that I thought we, to use your word, controlled from start to finish. Yes, of course, the opposition are going to get the occasional chance, which Crystal Palace did because they're a good side,
Correct.
albeit a weakened side yesterday. But I thoroughly enjoyed that game, including the first half that everybody says was so bad.
All I'm saying is that we're not playing brilliantly. Let's not go down the road.
And I thought in particular,
but let us finish. Let's not go down the road saying everything's perfect. It's not. There's still issues, but let's say this is hopefully the start of a great run, and hopefully the momentum goes on from here, and therefore performances do get better. But let's not say that that's the case at this point, because it's not quite there yet.
I think the biggest problem for me is the fact that you've got, like I said, you have got a player playing in the deepest role who is progressing the ball further forward. But I also think you've got to remember he's not Pirlo. He's not the type of player that's going to be or have the ability to knock a ball 40 and 50 yards to feet all of the time. And I think that is where Tonali's weakness is. And again, this isn't me trying to play the player. I think sometimes you have to play the player in an area where he is going to be better for the squad and the result. And I think at this present moment in time, like I say, his metrics state that he's involved in a lot more than he was last year, apart from positional. And there is other things around him, as you quite rightly say. He's still a human being at the end of the day. His partner's very heavily pregnant and he's expecting a baby anytime soon. There could be things away from football that's also affected him. And you could tell by the lad's frustration yesterday of how well, or how poor, I should say, he's contributing to the game, because when he was substituted, he threw his coat across the dugout. He was so miffed about being subbed, and whether that is, miffed towards Eddie Howe, miffed towards his own game. So there is definitely a confidence issue there, and he's trying his best. And like I say, whether that, injury, stroke, illness has affected his momentum somewhat,
Gary,
potentially.
This guy is a world-class footballer, right? World-class. He'd walk into any team on the planet as a starter. If he's had a dip in form and things have affected him, right, and he hasn't been playing the way we have seen him play and know he can play, there's a reason for that. But don't you think, that one day that's going to be history and he's going to be coming back to his best, right? Once this is, because he's had a few games doesn't mean he's not the same player anymore for the rest of his career. He's going to come back, right? And he's going to be that world-class player that just astonishes you with his skill and his playing, right? It's going to come soon, right? Once he gets over whatever it is that's been affecting him, right? Whether it be the way the team's been playing, personal problems, whatever, you don't know. But you know for a fact that Tonali is going to come back and be at his best again.
Well, like I say, for me, the reason I want to put it in there, because there's a lot of people saying now Tonali's gone missing. It just shows that he's not missing. I just think he's having touches of the ball in areas that are negative at times for us to progress the ball, or he's not getting the touch of the ball in the areas that matter the most, that will, complement his style of football. And I think that is it. I mean, for me, you look at Bruno, he's still Newcastle's primary creative driver, if you like. He is the risk taker. Tonali's becoming more of the tempo setter. He's recycling pass at possession. He's advancing play as much as he can, and he's supporting the structure of what Eddie Howe has put out regarding a passage of play. they're not duplicating roles because there is nothing to duplicate in. They're just complementing each other's type of style of football. The one thing for me, like I say, I just think having him so deep in our field at the moment, there doesn't seem to be, or we certainly haven't got another Tonali in that 8th role. I haven't seen anything. Like I say, J7 gets in the box and he does become, like I say, the upsetter. Yeah. You look at Ramsey, I haven't seen anything that lights me my fire about Ramsey at the moment. Yeah, he does hold on to the ball, but does he give us anything extra going into the box? Well, at the minute, I haven't seen that at all. And that's what I'm saying. For me, you are missing a massive chunk of Tonali's ability. And is that affecting his mentality and, his confidence? So like I say, for me, it is the goals that are missing. And it's ahead of it's ahead of them, if you like. So both Bruno in games, and we've all said Bruno's gone off the ball a lot this season. If you look at the game,
Gary, it could be a crazy thing. Like that guy feels so indebted to Newcastle United and the fans and everything because of the way we supported him through his ban and all that. That he surprised me with his genuine emotion of I want to play for this club, I want to win things, and I want to pick back what they've given me. So therefore, it could even be something like if he feels that he's not being able to do that, that could affect him mentally, because the guy is a genuine guy. We've come to learn that and love that about him, is he really, really is a genuine bloke. So if he, we don't know the reason, but for a fact that it'll pass. And this is what I was saying earlier.
But hang on, the other thing is as well, has there ever been a player in history that hasn't had a slight
have a dip in form?
Sorry.
And everybody gets, this is what I'm saying earlier, people get bogged down in the moment, right? And the moment can last 3 or 4 games, whatever. But it's the moment. It will pass. And then the team will come back to where it should be and what we hope.
There we go.
But has there ever been a player in history that hasn't had a drop off in form? Every player has little drops off in form, and this. Let's just finish, Gary. This hasn't been a long drop off in form. It's been a month or so. Let's just think. Every player has little drop offs at times. There's no player goes through the whole career playing to the top level.
So, well, that to me was him coming back yesterday. That was the green sprouts of him coming back. So, let's have a look at some super chats.
But I don't even know why we're talking about it, to be honest.
We've got Kenny W saying, "What's the most toxic job in management, Chelsea or Man United?" Which will probably come on to tonight later on.
If you think of Ineos,
from this chat, probably Newcastle United.
That's coming to
years.
If Tonali's so bad, why is Chelsea coming in with £100 million bid?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tonali got battered and kicked all over the pitch yesterday, got no protection off the ref.
Yeah.
And to coin a phrase, we were decent yesterday. How negative, man. 6 goals would not have looked out of place. Well, I think 6 goals has been a bit over the top, but we could certainly have had 4
chances on the first half.
Yeah, Tina, you're right, because I watched the highlights again, and we could have won that game 5 or 6-0.
Well, I would say 4 probably, but never mind. Fuck it, in between. No in between with this is it. No, there's no in between with the majority of our fan base this season. It's either losers mentality excuses for poor performances and results, or people saying the season is over because we lost to Sunderland and Man U. Shocking.
And then you win the next game and everything changes.
Well, this is. I would like to see something like this. I've been having a bit of a play, and this would be my initial lineup. And again, right side there's issues for me all over the park because I don't think Anthony Gordon would be my 11 if I'd got another one to choose from. But I've gone with Harvey Barnes on the left hand side because again I think he gives you a bit more emphasis coming in on his right foot. Can also strike a ball with his left foot. So I've stuck him out there. And this is the reasons why I've put this down. And I look at the way Mark He's got a good size for him. And when you progress this ball up the field, again, with Miley sitting in that 6, it allows Shaw and Chow to come forward and alongside him, if you like, again, freeing up Louis Saul to go past the halfway line, the same as Tino Livramento. So you've got balance. And when you move that ball left to right, you've got the same momentum going forward higher up the field of play. And again, if you can and if you wanted to, you drop one of your midfield and you can pull Miley just in that deep role and have Shaw and Chow on the halfway line. It depends on how you want to play, but there is options all over the park. And for me, the way Miley is playing at the moment, especially the way he's playing in that number 2 role as a right back, he can see the game. You can start to see his development of the game. And I think he would be an absolute dynamite. I'm not saying it will be this year, but I think in years to come, I think he will be the perfect 6, which allows then the 2 younger fullbacks to get yourself forward into the higher areas. So, you know, for me, again, we talk about numbers in the box. Playing this type of formation, again, allows your 2 main areas, which is your 2 8s, to get in support. Your 2 wingers then come narrow, and then your 2 wide boys, your wide fullbacks, stay out wide as you get out of jail clause. I think at the minute we lose a little bit of momentum when you see Louis Saul and Livramento come on the inside channels. You want some of your best shooters of the ball to stay within the penalty area. In my eyes, even though Louis Saul, as Gaza said, did a good shot yesterday on target, unfortunately it went down the keeper's throat. But again, we know Livramento isn't a striker of a ball regarding goals. He has got a goal for Newcastle, but he's not a predominant striker of a ball. So for me, that is something I would like to line up and see Gary, us play in that way.
Can I ask a question then? Do you not think a better option is to play Barnes and Valdemar behind Wissa and have them 2 in between the midfield and Wissa or Wissa?
I mean, like I say, if you were going to balance the side, if you want to balance the side, then you will. But I'm going on what Eddie Howe has been, tried and trusted with. He's not really going to change unless he's chasing a game, in my opinion. So I've tried to play a system that looks an Eddie Howe system. The 4-2-3-1 just doesn't seem to be Eddie Howe, unfortunately.
I'd be 4-3-2-1.
Well, I know you've changed it again, haven't you? You've gone to more the Christmas tree.
It begs the question: why did he buy Valdemar, right? If he's not going to play him,
because he was available. Because he was available, and we needed a striker, basically. And he was quality.
He's got to be in the team. The guy is an absolute, he's international class, and I would try it. Put Gordon on the bench,
or Gordon right wing.
Sir, have Barnes and Valdemar as sitting behind him, right? I mean, I would think that would be fairly devastating up front, and then you're going to have your wide men. You're going to have Hall and Livramento supplementing it, plus the midfield of Tonali and Bruno. I would think that would be better than the 4-3-3.
What would you go for, Tina?
Formation, I was delighted with what Gary just put up there, to be honest with you. I was saying before, I think Miley, with what he's learned in right back, is the ideal number 6 that I've been screaming out for. Simple passes, can sit there. Literally everything that Gary showed in that formation, I would be delighted with. I get what you're saying with the 2 narrower attacking midfielders, where you could have Valdemar and Barnes, or you could have at least giving Barnes a bit more of a free role. But yeah, I think we know Gary Howe, Eddie Howe even is probably going to stick to the 4-3-3 formation, and I think the freedom that you're going to get from Tonali and Bruno, if we did have someone sitting in that 6 like a Miley, I think that's going to be game changing as far as attacking flair is concerned.
Anyway, Christina, Get
Yes.
my name right, please. It's Barry Howe. Okay.
Barry Howe.
Yeah, Barry Howe. As the mighty
Confused me
Win
more,
calls him.
don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a look at some of the rumour mills that's out there at the
Just
moment. Like
a
I said,
quick, quick
go on,
super
yeah,
stat.
throw it back.
Gary Moore in jail. Does he not know when's the star?
Biddly biddly bosh. Yeah, we're gonna have to put
That's
him at the.
unfair. Win is my mentor.
So at the minute, then, there's a lot of rumours out there regarding Raheem Sterling, because obviously there's straight from the horse's mouth, as you've seen in the chat.
No.
Chelsea now are looking at Tonali as that potential enforcer, which they seem very, very weak in the middle. Chelsea, you wouldn't believe that, would you? And they're obviously looking at potentially bringing Raheem Sterling plus a lump of cash coming the other way. Will Asula still got links to Frankfurt, according to, again, a lot of rumours. And again, the Jürgen Strand Larsen seems to have taken another U-turn. And again, it seems as though we had scouts looking at Wolves the weekend for Strand Larsen, and again, a potential going there. And as you can see to the right of that one, Sandro Tonali, again, that link to Chelsea's there. Some coming towards us, if you like, Kafane, Oscar Mingueza, again, for me, one of them players I think would be a cracking solution in the long term. Siddiqui Cherif and David Fratesi, again, another midfielder for me. I wouldn't bother me if Fratesi came our way. Again, there's lots of people out there that have different views on him, but for myself, I think he would suit the Newcastle situation as we speak. So again, lots of rumours out there, and like I say, the lads will probably take a bit of a deep dive into the current Eddie Howe situation when it comes to the rumours of him going elsewhere. Little bits and pieces, if you like, and again, it's more the Mangueza, Oscar Mangueza one, and that's the fact that Aston Villa are strongly linked with him. And again, it looks like they are trying to support their current league position by bringing on board some players of decent ability. And like I say, for me, he is a good player in La Liga, and I think he should be one that gets us forward. And like I say, for me, when rivals are looking at the same type of player...
The only thing I would say about Oscar is if we are going for him, he's not going to come to sit on the bench.
Well, no, I mean, you talk about Kieran Trippier. This is his last season. He could go this month.
But my point is, I think if we start getting heavily linked with him, I think that probably means that the Tino, and now Arsenal are in the race as well for Tino, apparently. Tino leaving is looking more and more like, because Oscar's only got 6 months left on his contract. So if they're going to get anything for him, it's got to be now.
Yeah.
Which will happen this transfer window. Absolutely nothing. I think we'll get a couple of young signings in, but I don't think there'll be a big signing for us, and I don't think there'll be a big player leaving.
But I think that's the other rumour is that Newcastle aren't actually looking to bring players in unless it's towards the window, because what they're reliant on, and as we saw with a very strong bench, if I'm honest with you, against Crystal Palace, is a lot of the players that were injured in the back four and they're returning. So it's a case of, it seems as though the interest with Botman to Liverpool is quieting down. Manchester City now in a crisis, if you like, regarding defenders. It sounds very much as people already talking to the Mark Gay camp for a potential move. Connor's just told me there is already interest with Fratesi joining Galatasaray on loan with an option to buy for £30 million. So, like I say, there is players out there that have got value for money.
Just on that subject, Gary, what did you think of Gay's performance on Saturday?
Again, you're asking the player to do half a dozen roles, aren't you? You know, if you look at what Gay was trying to do, playing that in that 6 role, which is very dominant of what Glasner does. He does exactly the same with the right centre back on that trigger point. And we saw, you know, Eddie Howe try that system with Dan Burn and Shaw against Man City, or was it Chelsea last season, where on that trigger point they play in the 6. So again, you know, there wasn't much wrong
I thought
with
he
his
had
game,
a
but
tremendous.
yeah.
You know, I was really impressed with Gay yesterday.
It was one of those.
Including
one of the players that stood
when
out a little bit.
he was doing a Dan Burn, he was getting up into the area outside the box. I thought he had a tremendous game.
Yeah, like I said, he certainly didn't do anything wrong. The only thing he did wrong is he didn't score an own goal, if you like.
He could have been free on the truck.
That would have been quality.
Gary, can I just give a quick congratulations to Win? Because we've got an hour and 20 into this video without him mentioning Dan Burn. So that's...
Oh, he's just done it there, man. He's just done it, hasn't he?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He did it there, but he hasn't done it beforehand.
I've tried to keep away from defenders. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, like I say, it just seemed really strange, the fact that we are, you know, we're already into the window. And it looks, as much as there's been a lot of talk about players coming our way, it looks very much like there could be players going out before we bring players in. And like I say, as Wynn's already mentioned, you know, there's strong interest now. And Chelsea's another one that's looking at Tino.
Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea and Man City are still heavily linked. But I think Man City now have turned their attention to the 2 centre-back situations because they've got, obviously, long-term injuries in that role. So they're looking to fill that void before they look elsewhere. But they certainly, there's 2 teams. I mean, you know, we all know that Reece James can play in a multitude of positions. Again, is looking at Tonali just giving them that little bit more in that 6 role, which then they wouldn't even have to look at the likes of Tonali. So again, you know, it could be just smoke screens. You know what they're like? They throw a lot of names out there for people to start talking about. Always get this in the transfer window. We are linked to so many players, but I mean, there's a couple of players for me that and again, I'd like to, as I've seen Foxy in the chat, and I know there's a couple of others. For me, is it Buwadi? I don't know whether you guys are you Buwadi. I tell you another a good fullback, Alex Freeman. I've looked at. He looks very, very good. And there's a lot of talk about Yan Diamonde down that left-hand side for me. And again, you look at some of the...
Gary Moore, we're not ignoring you, we just can't hear you. I think you're muted.
No, I don't know. Is that because I disappeared off the screen?
Yeah, he's just reconnected himself. So, like I say, there's a hell of a lot of talk out there. But there's so many youngsters, wonder kids, like I say, if Wilson's willing to cast his net a little bit further afield, I think we can certainly get that on board.
Well, listen, we're in the last 10 minutes. Do we want to do some of these super chats?
Yeah, go for it. Go for the panel.
And T. Lewis saying there are a lot of games to play yet, and we are getting there. Be more positive.
Correct.
Becca is saying we were playing a mediocre Palace side at home. I think our standards and expectations have dropped significantly as a fan base. If we are elated by that result, well, I could go on about that comment for 20 minutes. Sean is saying the ground was shocked into silence yesterday. Well, not where I was. That's how poor we were. There were parts where we sang, but dear me, that was not a good game. Different game to what I saw, Sean.
Can I just quickly pick up on that point? Because I asked you yesterday, did the crowd get behind Eddie Howe because of all these rumours? Because before, obviously, Man United lost their manager. But because of the Chelsea links, you'd have thought they would be up for Eddie Howe and shouting his name. I watched the game back and listening to, obviously, you can't hear the commentary when we're watching it. And I watched the game back. It wasn't great again for him. There wasn't that, it wasn't ringing round the ground like I would have expected if they wanted to keep a manager.
I don't think we don't need to do that.
if you
But,
watch,
but you would, no, but you would normally, if a manager's under pressure and you want to keep him, you'd expect the crowd to be chanting his name and giving him the
Yeah,
the
but
boost.
the point is,
It wasn't there.
he isn't under pressure from the 52,000 in the ground.
But exactly,
And that's
but what
still
I'm
the
s-
case.
No. But what I'm saying is, the 52,000 in the ground would normally show their appreciation towards him, and they
He's
tried
not
a
under
few times to
pressure.
get. He tried
Well,
a
they
few
did.
times to they tried a few times to get the song up and running, but it just fell flat.
He's
Well-
not under pressure. It's only stupid people in the media that are saying things like that. He's not under pressure. His job's as safe as houses.
Well, if
We're
that's the
gonna win
case,
the-
we've got major
we-
issues.
We'll catch Arsenal up, mate.
So,
This season,
Tom,
and you'll
Tom,
change it.
Tom Trad's stuff is, I think the team need to build confidence again, and no better way than to win again. It will improve, and I think the players and coaches have paced the performances to peak from Christmas onwards. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that's your circumstance. But
do,
Jody,
but-
how Wayman is saying midfield is the most combative area on the pitch. Is Miley too nice to play there? This right back role could be just the making of a star, in my opinion.
I don't think he's like I said. When you look at the teams that he's played up against and some of the wingers, I mean, sometimes they've doubled up on him on that right back situation, thinking he was an easy target, and he's handled it really well. And like I say, for me, that was one thing. The one thing I wanted to do is shout out War Flags for yesterday with the United. With the white and the gold lining around. I thought that was superb in the Gallagher end. Like I say, and I think that is exactly what we need to be, united as a group. So, like I say, I know the lads are just joining us in the background there, so we've got a couple of minutes before they come on board. The one thing I wanted to mention, we've done a show previously about how poor the officiating has been. And obviously, again, those that play at Anfield seem to get away with it week in, week out. And again, another poor decision that allowed Wits get his goal yesterday, which was clear offside. And when they drew the lines, oh my God, I'll tell you something now. I thought this semi-automated would stop a lot of this so-called cheating. But it was clear and evident as day yesterday that they got away with another one, the entitled. So they got a point out of the game at the end of the day, and well done for them to get that equaliser in the dying seconds. Because again, it was a worldie, if you like, in the 97th minute for them to get the point that they deserved through the game. So well done, Fulham, in the end. But like I say, it just goes to prove, though, doesn't it, that it doesn't matter how much technology you have at games these days, there's still errors, and that should never have been. And the one thing that was for me noticeable more than anything else was the fact that they got when they put the lines up, the automated lines. There was certainly somebody had moved the initial line, and I just wanted to put it on the screen and just so you can see. So this was the drawed line from the officials yesterday, and as you can see, Wirtz, his toe is encroaching the line there. So when it gets played on and they do the automated one, it's actually behind his toe. It's as if they'd moved it slightly on the screen. But you can see there, it's parallel with the grass. I know people were saying you've got to go with the markings. Somebody had drew the line and it's directly over his toe. And that is where it all went. A little bit Pete Tong. But like I say, even though it went to VAR, they still were unable to get the message out to them. Anyway, I am going to pass over to the team that's coming on the late show. That's obviously the brains and the brawn, if you like. So have a good one, you lot, this evening.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Take it easy. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted, Chris.
There we go. Oh, my bad.
No, oh, there you go.
What a rookie mistake. Who is that? Is that a car? And is that who is that? Roy,
Right,
fix your
yeah.
mic, man. Roy, fix your mic. Listen, good show, by the way, from Gary Mon, Boki, and Christina. We'll see you later, of course. And we shall continue with the late night show with a lot of the new lads and, unfortunately, the mighty win. So we'll be on right now.
You are listening to NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army. Live daily on the website, on YouTube, and on every online radio directory. NUFC Talk, the voice of the Toon Army. Set up for maximum confrontation.
All right, ladies and gents, we are live. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you think in the comment section down below on whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to point out. We are going to talk about Eddie Howe being linked to Chelsea as well as Man United. And, the Chronicle has put up an article when it comes to that. We got other pieces of news that we can discuss, of course. We got to talk about the match. We're waiting on Ian, and we're waiting on Roy as well. So we have a full house as far as today is concerned. Don't forget you can super chat, send in your comments, and get them highlighted in front of everyone else's. Become a member and help support the channel and get exclusive content. We are working behind the scenes to get you a lot of stuff. Actually, it's safe to say that we are bringing the player ratings with Michael and Ian. Ian and Michael, the duo, are coming back now on this platform to do the player ratings after every match for members only. So, it's going to be a wonderful show. A wonderful, show every match after every match. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. So become a member now. And yeah, we got Roy in the building as well. Roy's going blank. Roy, where are you, man? Come on, man.
I'm at home.
Roy Caviani.
Can you not see me?
Well, we can see you now. We can see you now. So there you
It's
go.
a black screen now.
Yeah, blame it on that. How's it go?
New
First
iPhone.
time for Kev. Kev also comes from the platform where Michael and Ian came from. And, delighted to have him here. So welcome, Kev. How are you?
I am excellent. I can't believe, I don't know if this is a stitch-up or not, but I have very strong opinions on Eddie Howe being the greatest manager in the world. So to be on this
Oh, there you
are
baby.
in good company.
I can see Michael laughing, and I'm thinking,
Oh, he is.
Oh,
I
there's
will
nobody
defend
laughing.
him. I will defend him to the hilt.
Well, there you go. We have a channel. We have a platform full of different opinions, but we can definitely confirm that Kevin is an ultra happy clapper on steroids, if you will. And Mighty Win might feel threatened because he is the chief in charge of Happy Clappers United, so he might feel threatened for his job.
I'll be his assistant. I'll be his JT. I'll be his Jason.
Oh my God!
Laura Toon Wifey, thanks for the super chat, darling. Hugs and loves. Keep up the good work, says Laura Toon Wifey.
Very much. Thank you very much. Well, again, delighted to have you, Kev, on here. And, listen, happy clappers, bedwetters unite, baby. Yeah, we're all here. And some of us are realists in the middle. They say what they see. You know what I mean? That's what I like to be called anyway. I'm not on neither or. But although Mighty Win says I am a bedwetter, but I'm not. We got Ian now, of course. Ian joining us. Oh, he went offline there for a second. But Ian will be joining us here in a minute. And, let's start with your takes. We hear Mighty Win all the time, so we don't want to hear him anymore. So, Kevin, what do you think about the game yesterday? Oh, I can't wait to hear this, man. Or can I? If Mighty Win got on to me for being a negative, I guess, and not being happy or throwing a parade over beating Crystal Palace, I'm afraid what you're gonna say. So go on then. What do you think?
I thought the performance was okay. I don't think we were exceptional. I don't think we were like mind-blowingly good and we're back or any of that stuff. But I'm really happy with the win. Palace can be a tricky team. You never know what side you're going to get. A little bit like us at the minute. Very inconsistent. But yeah, I don't feel the need to be too negative about it, mainly because we are 2 points off fifth, which could be Champions League, depending on the coefficient spots, which is excellent. And performance-wise, I thought there was a lot of good in there. There was some questionable stuff as well, but I thought Howe responded well to the no plan B quest with the substitutes having pretty much an instant impact on the game, and a triple sub, by the way, on the hour mark. So none of this he makes subs too late stuff anymore. We can stop that one.
He did it one. He did it in one game, man. And all of a sudden,
hang on. Even I'll come back at that because why 60 minutes? It was apparent after 25, half an hour that Murphy was off the boil. So I would have made some changes.
I agree he was poor and he didn't have his best game. However, with them playing 5 at the back, all I kept hearing was people behind me saying, Murphy's playing right back. I was like, he's not playing right back. They play 5 at the back. So when they bomb forward down the left wing, Murphy has to drop really deep. But as soon as we got the ball, he was trying to kind of be in that right wing position. So,
and to be fair, they did miss a couple of his runs.
It's very useful to stop their kind of 5 at the back and their formation. Even though he didn't have a great game, his end product was poor. He wasn't great on the ball. His passing was poor. Rating Michael and Ian, I can't imagine he got very high. However, I think he was very beneficial in terms of defensively in that game. But yeah, it wasn't fantastic, but I'm not too bothered really. We got a 3
One thing you probably had, by the way, you probably have the best microphone out of everybody in here. So your tones are pretty wonderful,
nice.
if I may say so. But listen,
Nice microphone.
we got to admit it.
Fan base.
Proves it well,
Fan base. There you go. But Kev, where are you from, by the way? That's something that we.
I'm from.
Alexa, shut
I'm
up.
from Newcastle. Ian's shouting at Alexa. I'm from
Just went
Newcastle. I live in Newcastle, but I lived in London for 2 years. I've been pretty much all over the country, living and working. So I'm back in Newcastle now. We're very fortunate to get there almost every
You
game
are
actually at home.
so you are a season ticket holder.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're from Newcastle, did you say? You were breaking up there for a second.
Yeah, I'm from Newcastle, so born.
What part?
In Newcastle.
Well, I love me.
I grew up in Whitley Bay, which is very, very north. But I live now in Chelsea Street, which is closer to Durham. So
The
romance.
That's where Roy used to live.
Yeah,
That's where Roy was based. And we got some people from County Durham. I think Hutch is from County Durham, part of the NUFC Comparison podcast. I think who else we got from County Durham? Well, and that part of who else? That's it. I think Whitley Bay. Gary's from Whitley Bay. He was born there. War Gary. That was just on the
Monk
early
Seaton.
night show.
Gary Yam Yam was from Monk Seaton.
Yeah. But there you go. Right on then. Now we're not going to be nice to you, Kevin, anymore, so you better hold on to your seat.
I'm ready.
Michael, what's your take on the game yesterday?
It's one of those where, let's be honest, after 45 minutes, you were going, here we go again. It's going to be another one where we lose it late. But I actually thought we were the better team in the first half. The quality, let's be honest, it was pretty shocking. Neither team were very good. Palace, obviously, on a poor run of form. But that isn't our problem. There's been plenty of times this season where we've had 2 days rest and the opposition's had 7, and we've gone, well, that's not a very good performance. We can't all of a sudden just turn it and say we only won because they had 2 days rest, which I have seen some fans say. I'm happy with it. I think it was a decent performance. There's room to improve, definitely. I don't think it's Eddie Howe sitting there and saying, well, my job, I'm excellent now. You can't criticize me anymore. It was definitely one of those where, points have gone up a little bit, but let's be honest, it doesn't make up for Sunderland or Manchester United, but it's a movement in the right direction. We're moving up the table. I can see us when I look at the top half of the table now. So I'll take it, but it could be better.
That's right, baby. That's exactly my take. Listen, I was actually saying you can happy clap. Everybody should be happy clapping because it wasn't great, but you got the 3 points and we move on. But you can't say that after Burnley. Though Burnley was atrocious. I mean, you can't say that to Burnley. But anyway, Roy, what's your take on the game?
You say sorry, Chris.
Roy, you're so funny.
We were far better than Crystal Palace.
Well,
Sorry,
I will agree with that.
We weren't great. Compared to Crystal Palace, we were excellent. We could have scored in the first minute with a really good move. Yeah, discounting 2 disallowed goals in the first half.
Well, of course you got to discount them.
The open goal missed by Willock at the last minute. Nah, but that's how much on top we were. 7 shots on target.
The one-on-one by Will Hughes, which he put close at the corner flag.
I mean, yeah, but Ian, I know you may not like it, Ian, but you can't count disallowed goals, mate. You can't. There's a reason why you're offside.
I'm not. I'm not. But I'm saying in assessing the performance,
Yeah, well, you could
there
have
were
a point.
two fantastic moves that cut them to pieces. And if you see how far offside Wissa was given, that was, if he'd been breathing in instead of breathing out, he would have been onside.
There you go.
I just mean, what I mean is, you're saying we weren't very good. I sat and watched that match, and I was
No.
worried we weren't going to score as well because I've seen the season beforehand. But actually, once we did, you realise that we just dominated that game, despite the fact that Lewis Hall played like he had his shoes on the wrong feet.
Millard, I refer you to Foxy Cairo. No in between with the majority of our fan base this season. Either losers' mentality excuses for poor performances and results, or people saying the season is over because we lost to Sunderland and Man U. Shocking.
The season is over, but you
exactly.
No. Trust me. The season was over when we beat the Mackhams, and I'm not saying literally when they beat us. Actually, I'm not saying literally. But we got to keep fighting. But that was my threshold when it came to Eddie Howe. He didn't understand it. But either way, we're going to get to that conversation in a minute. Roy, now get to have your say about the game yesterday.
Well, Michael summed the whole thing up, so I haven't got much to say. But I think
you want to take a night off then?
In a nutshell, I think it was job done. Really, we should have beaten them. We did beat them. We were the better team. Small margins as well. They could have. No one has mentioned they could have scored in the last minute of the first half. So we could have been 1-0 down. So we missed chances. They missed chances. 2 offsides as well. And we are the better team. We were. It wasn't in doubt. Yeah, that was probably one of the few games this season that was sat there in the last 15 minutes relaxed. No Xanax, no alcohol, nothing. Just happy days.
Relax.
And I'm no shaking.
Ian, some people want to hear your opinion, so it seems like your mic is a bit low as last time. So I wonder, I don't know if you can put a closer or an extra closer.
Is that good?
Is that good? We might have to
sort you out.
We'll get to that. So of course, we woke up with the news that Man United sacked their manager, and Chelsea had sacked their manager, I think, the day before, if I'm not mistaken, or before that, sometime. And immediately, the links to Eddie Howe by Newcastle media, by the way. I'm not sure about other outlets. But one, the Chronicle, coming out and saying that they are more or less taking a look and might be one of the candidates. The fact that Eddie Howe is a candidate to any club, I don't see that as a surprise. I think he would be. But I mean, do you think though, Eddie Howe, looking just from the Eddie Howe perspective, let's jump into Mighty Win and probably Kevin's world where Eddie Howe just floats about all day, 24/7, and they worship him 3 times a day. Let's get into that world for a second, right? And say, what would you do if you're Eddie Howe, thinking of himself? I've done this with Newcastle. I've done this. There were restrictions with the money I can spend and all that stuff. And Man United or Chelsea are available. Do you think that Eddie Howe would think of leaving? Do you think he would even entertain the thought of, maybe it's the time because of everything that's going on, right? With Newcastle United's form being up and down, the restrictions, and also the availability of a new club job as opposed to the national team. Well, Mighty Win, tell me, man, what do you think?
I think they'd be fools not to be considering Eddie Howe. Total utter fools not to be considering Eddie Howe, given his record at Newcastle. And I think equally they probably know that we're not worth approaching because they'll not be able to financially muscle PIF into letting them go. And Eddie Howe probably won't want to go.
You think he would say no if Man United come and they say, I want you, mate? At the end of the season, say at the end of the season. Because right now, I don't know, even right now, they couldn't do it, though. I mean, Newcastle would have to allow him to go. He's under contract. So I just don't see that happening. But if you say at the end of the season, do you think he would say no at the end of the season? Do you really believe that he would say no?
Absolutely.
All right. Kev, I'm assuming your answer doesn't change much.
Yeah, it does actually.
The older version of yourself.
I think I agree with what Wynn's saying in terms of it'd be silly not to consider Howe. I think not just his resume at Newcastle in terms of not many people wanted that job when he took it to kind of keep us up, and then obviously 2 Champions League qualifications, 2 finals, League Cup finals, and a League Cup win. I think would be silly not to consider him just on Newcastle, but what he did at Bournemouth from League 2 up to League 1, a spell away at Burnley, and then navigating the Championship and establishing Bournemouth in the Premier League. Yes, there's a relegation in there. I'm not saying Howe doesn't make mistakes. He's made mistakes for Newcastle. But I think that's human nature. Everybody makes mistakes. In terms of Howe considering Man United, though, if Man United did approach him, I think nobody would. I think anybody, I'll rephrase that differently. Anybody would struggle to turn down the biggest club in the country. Because let's face it, if you get it right at Manchester United, you're literally immortal. The biggest club in English football. I know Liverpool have more trophies overall, but in terms of recently, Manchester United are the biggest club, one of the biggest clubs in the world. So I think Eddie Howe would consider it. I hope he doesn't, but it could be possible.
But that could be said about every manager that came after Fergie, though. And they all more or less didn't meet the expectation.
Yeah, so I think there'd be worries there in terms of if it goes wrong. Obviously, what he's got at Newcastle, despite some fans being on the fence now, he probably has got enough in the bank with Newcastle. And if he goes to Man United, he could be out the door in 12 months. That would be worrying, but it's just so tempting. It's Manchester United. Like, I love Newcastle, my only club I ever really bought. I genuinely don't care about any other club. Love them to pieces. If it was me, I would never leave because I'm from the area. Loved going to games since I was like 7 years old. However, Eddie Howe's not from Newcastle. Yes, he gets us, but Manchester United, one of the biggest teams in the world. Of course, he'd be tempted. He'd have to be tempted by Man United and Chelsea if Chelsea were considering him. Chelsea are a European powerhouse now, 2 Champions Leagues under the belt. Fortunately, I think I think he would have to consider it. I think he'd be silly not to. It's 2 massive clubs.
I think that he might consider it, to be honest. I mean, you make great points as far as the club sizes that are coming would approach him for the job, but also the fact that Newcastle is in a situation where he may say, I don't know how far. Honestly, how far can Eddie Howe take Newcastle United? I mean, how much more can he do? I know that we'll say he can win the Champions League and all that nonsense, but coming back to reality, it's Michael. It's not. I mean, what else can he do, man? I don't know.
I think it's one of those where, let's be honest, if there's going to be a manager to take us to win the Premier League, it probably isn't going to be Eddie Howe. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know who that manager is, and I don't think one exists at this moment. I think the thing that puts me off Eddie Howe leaving is the fact that when you see the odds for the next Chelsea manager, for the next Manchester United manager, I don't look at a single one of them and go, oh, I'd love to have him at Newcastle United. The manager market at the moment is so poor, where you almost look at it and go, you're probably more damned if you do make the cut than what you do if you just stick with Eddie Howe, because we're not far off. We haven't been very good. And just to sort of refer back to the point of how Chelsea and Manchester United, I don't think Chelsea or Manchester United would give Howe what he wants at all. Howe has a lot of sway in the back room at Newcastle United. He has a lot in the standing. You think Todd Boehly's going to go to Eddie Howe, have whoever you want in the back room, you can do whatever with your money? And now he signed Mudryk, but he can't be that stupid, surely. So I think it's one of those where Eddie
I would have had Mudryk at the time.
I wouldn't have liked that. Fair enough. But I think it's one of those where I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I don't think there's another club in England where Howe ends up, purely because I don't think there's one bigger and better than us that give him the freedom that we have.
That's a good point. I think I'll just add, I agree with everything you've just said. I think he would still consider, even though Man United are a bit of a something show, and Chelsea's ownership is carnage, it's still Chelsea and Man U, and I'm going to get loads of stick for it. Like, Newcastle are a big club, but we're nowhere near them two. Like, let's be honest. It's almost like Man United's almost a once in a lifetime opportunity, isn't it? But I don't want him to leave. I'm a massive Eddie Howe fan. I think he's genuinely good enough. And when you ask the question about another manager, for me, I don't think many other managers in this league, maybe including Pep, don't get what Eddie Howe gets out of some of these players, like Dan Burn. Like, would Pep just sell Burn and bring somebody in for 50, 60 million because he can? Probably would. Howe will work with them. Same with he did with Isak. He turned Isak into a superstar. Look what he did with Anthony Gordon when he came from Everton. I don't think many other managers in this league will genuinely take the time to improve players like Eddie Howe had to because of PSR restraints. He had to get the best out of Joe Linton. He had to get the best out of Fabian Shaw. Fabian Shaw defensively was so poor until Eddie Howe came in, and now defensively looks 10 times better. I just think in terms of a coach, he's probably the best we can possibly get. And I agree, the atmosphere and the setup at us is much better. He has a lot of sway, he has a lot of say, but still, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it is just Man United, isn't it? They're an absolutely monstrous juggernaut of a club.
True.
Yeah. Roy, you're definitely not a Man U supporter. You're a Man U hater.
I know, but I hate them. But any of us, if we get a chance to go there and get a job, we'll go. But would you work with those people? Would you work with those people, though? Yeah. The Man U management and the ownership and that system. So, I wouldn't leave if I was him.
Well, that's a good point, because going over there is not, as Michael was saying, it's not going to be, he's not going to have the same control. It's not going to be the same Eddie Howe. He's not the owners for some reason. I don't know why and how, because I do believe PIF to have the money they have, they must be ruthless at some level. And they seem to not be that type of ownership when it comes to Newcastle United for many reasons. Maybe they don't want to upset the people or whatever it is. Maybe it's a strategy, but it does seem like maybe in a negative way, Ineos is pretty ruthless. The Chelsea ownership, I think Maresca winked at him wrong, and and he's gone. So they are very much, this is Chelsea, this is Man United. You are just an employee, as opposed to Newcastle United, which it should be somewhat the same thing. But you got fans like Mighty Win who worship him and all that stuff, and then that's the issue. It's not the same thing. Ian, what would you do if you're Eddie Howe? If they come knocking?
Well, can you hear me now, by the way? Is it better?
Yeah.
A little bit better, but still a bit low. But we can't do much right now, I guess.
We'll do the action news report.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't know why.
I said John Motson. Yes.
There you go.
I think I'm amazed at you, Kev, and I'm amazed at you, Michael. I think you're doing us down. There's all of this Chelsea and Man U when we're miles away. Is this the Man U we fished ahead of for the last 2 seasons that we should have stuffed a few days ago, but we'd won 5 out of 6 against them in the 3 seasons beforehand? And the Chelsea that picked up a point at St James's Park the first time they've avoided being beaten in the last 5 years. I mean, come on.
I would sacrifice
not
that years
that far off.
20
we are not
3 European Cups.
Yeah, but,
however many.
we haven't. Kev, we haven't had Eddie Howe or Piff and their money for anything but the last 4 years, and that's why it's different. That's why Eddie Howe is bought into this club. He's just started.
I agree.
Get behind him.
I'm a massive
Get
Eddie
behind
Howe.
him.
I hope Eddie Howe gets a 20-year contract. I don't want him going anywhere. I'm a massive lover of him, but I know Man United recently have not been the juggernaut they used to be, they once were, but you still look at how much money they make and the global reach and the money available through PSR. Like, Man United's, everybody would consider Man U. Even if you're a Newcastle fan, you would consider Man United because it's Man United.
Can you hear Eddie Howe? Can you hear Eddie Howe saying, "Well, I'm really, really flattered to be considered, but I don't feel like I've finished the project that I came to do here at Newcastle"?
I hope so.
That's what he'll say. That's what he'll say.
I don't want Howe going anywhere.
All those players,
20-year contract.
All that first team squad have bought something. All talk so highly about him. You can see it. I know they've misfired a bit over the course of the last couple of months, but in the last couple of months, we've also beaten Man City. We're so bloody close to doing Liverpool with 10 men. We've had some great performances.
We have.
I know we've been
we're definitely a lot
occasionally.
closer.
Honestly, like I think Howe is that Michael and Ian will tell anybody, like I am the biggest Howe in fan in the world, maybe even other Mighty Win who I've just met today, right? He might top us. He might be the leader of a fan club I signed up to 4 years ago, right? But what I'm saying is it's a case of that's a great comment. Why does Ian look like he's going to commentate on today?
I know you're about to commentate on the match, right?
It's because my microphone is shite. So anybody who's going to pay for these super chats, the next 25 super chats of £2 will buy me a new mic. So get your credit cards out.
There you go, baby.
If I can just be the meat and the sandwich between Kev and Ian, because yes, as you're right, I'm the biggest Eddie Ian fan you'll meet. I think Roy will testify to that.
I'll take second.
know that.
But with regard to club size, etc., what people tend to forget is that although we know that football didn't start with the Premiership, by and large, global impact has been achieved through the Premiership. And in the Premiership era, there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Chelsea and Man U are levels above Newcastle.
agree.
Well, listen, man. Hold on. I had to interject. First of all, the Premiership would be before the Premier League.
Well, the Premier League, Premiership.
You're so old. You call the Premier League the Premiership. But anyway,
1993. Let's see.
But anyway, I think it's 92. Anyway.
When Sky took over the reins, put it like that. When the Sky money entered the scene,
but
unfortunately, we missed the boat.
The as far as the history of clubs, that's going to be there no matter what. I mean, and we'll have to probably try to catch up. If it's going to be difficult, but it'll take a lot of years, and it is what it is. But when it comes to Eddie Howe taking in a team as the head coach, the head manager, he's going to have to consider right now. The past is the past. Matter of fact, the past adds more pressure to what he will have to be able to achieve now. So can he really say, I can take Man United and win the Premier League and win the Champions League, which is where really they want to be? Chelsea the same way. I mean, to be honest, I don't know. So he'll have to probably say, look, if I don't win something, like winning the Carabao Cup win for Man United, they're not going to be parading like you are and worship him like you are. It's nothing to them. So
they left as soon as the final whistle, half of the fans.
You know what I mean? So Liverpool did. Liverpool won. Liverpool, we did the coverage for the final here time and time again. And Liverpool fans from all the channels came on here and they were, listen, you guys can win the Carabao Cup. We'll win the league. Everybody was honky-dory, happy. What fan tells you that? Nobody. Newcastle United fans would never say that to any club, to any fan. So it's a bigger hurdle trying to go over there and trying to achieve the goal. So I don't know that Eddie Howe, I mean, I would assume he thinks he's ready to do anything. That's what anybody would do anyway. I guess if you're a manager, you would be up for that challenge. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people make it to be. I mean, it's going to be hard, man. It's going to be hard. He's not going to be worshipped like he is in Newcastle over there. Trust me. He's not. It's not going to happen.
Would there be any Man United Howe out fans though? Like, I mean, it will affect Howe I don't think you'll see too much of it. He's openly said he stays off. But one of his substitutions around where I was in Malisa's corner got booed. I think when he brought Tonali off or Gordon off because he wasn't bringing Murphy off. Even when, like I previously said, Murphy defensively was very important.
Well, that's an interesting. Are you talking about yesterday?
But would Howe get booed? Like at Man U?
Wait, no. Before you continue, because you know what, you are happy, Clipper, but you are honest, man. I like honesty. Mighty Win is not honest. He will never tell the truth. So he'll always say that everything is hunky-dory in the stadium, no bother, everybody how it. But you're saying that yesterday there were a few boos and whistles when Tonali was on the Lisa's corner. That's where you sit.
Not just
which
Lisa's
way when you
corner,
are in.
My mate who I work with sits in the east stand as well, opposite me, and he said there was some around him when there was a substitution. We don't know if it was because Tonali was coming off. We don't know if it was because Murphy wasn't coming off. It is a minority, by the way. Out of 52,000 there was about at least 20 around me, and he said there was about 30 around him.
That's unbelievable.
Of the others, but it's a case of that
People
must
are doing
hurt him, because what he's done for the club and the way he's completely understands what the club's about, what the people's about, working class city, play with high energy, high press. He's done that for us. He's done that because he thinks it's going to get the most wins. He's won us a cup. He's brought in players like Bruno and give us icons for the next however many years. He's transformed Joe Linton. He's completely done an incredible job when you look overall. I know this season has been mistakes, absolutely. Look, how can he be criticised? Not that he can't be criticised, but surely he's got enough in the bank. So it would have hurt him if he had some people booing a substitution. You think, well, hang on a minute, for 4 years, what do you want? When I took over, you were 19th in the Premier League. You were looking dead set on relegation. Emery turned you down. Emery wanted to wait till the end of the season. I came in. I don't think he's got this ego, by the way, but I certainly would have. I'm the Messiah. I'm King Kev. I've done all this, right? It would be a case
There's only one King Kev.
It would be a case of what you're booing me for. What that would be in his mind. So surely it might be in the back of his mind. Well, hang on a minute. Have I run my course here?
Hang on, no.
Now, of a board of me is a time for Man U.
Hey, look at the happy couples fighting with each other.
Hang on, no, because like you say, 20 or 30.
It was a minority, but still.
But if you're talking, and now he's talking about his mate telling him the same thing on the opposite end.
Don't hide. Let's double it. Say 60 out of 50,000.
I told you before, you cannot cover the sun with one finger, man. No matter how you try, you cannot do that, man. Fans are having their moment. They're not happy with certain things. Don't act like everything is hunky dory in the stadium, because it seems to be not that way.
Everything is when the stadium turns, and it'll be gone.
Wait, by the way, you would expect them to go cheer. You wouldn't expect them to kick off and start booing. That's not. But at the end of the day, because of a substitution.
Yeah.
And by the way, Tonali wasn't happy. I'm letting you know that Tonali was not happy at all. So,
look, I think. I say I'm a massive Eddie Howe, and I think he's one of the best coaches in the league in terms of what he gets out of players. But is he looking at it thinking, you know what? I heard them very slight jeers. I'm reading what people are putting online. There's some people now who don't want me here. Is it the time to jump? Is it the time to go out? What's that phrase about die as a hero or live long enough to see yourself as a villain or something? He might think he's in that stage now. He might think he's in that stage. Is it time to kind of cut away and go out as a hero? Let's face it, even once you want him out, if he were to leave tomorrow, would still say it's the greatest 4 years of their lives as a Newcastle fan.
That's right.
Because it has been the greatest 4 years. He goes out a legend. I don't want Eddie Howe to go, by the way. But I
matter of fact,
Eddie Howe to be
Bobby Robson, maybe different condiments, because Bobby Robson was one of the greatest in English football.
Exactly.
But
he was sacked. Him out as well. Ungrateful people.
He was sacked. He wasn't given the opportunity, I guess, to really screw it up. Imagine if we got relegated with Bobby Robson. Do you think he'd be regarded as one of the greatest? I don't know, man. That's a big. I'm just saying, in that particular.
That's true. I had it.
What I was going to say was, by the way, the crowd yesterday was bloody awful. I sat next to the Crystal Palace fans and heard them chant, "Is this a library?" over and over and over again. That's how quiet the crowd was. Because the crowd yesterday was really nervous. They watched us have chance after chance.
Early on.
Still at 0-0.
What we're going to lose.
Yeah, wanted to see something.
I
understand.
You went to the game yesterday.
I did.
I was at the game.
No, I'm talking about Ian, man. I'm talking to the honest people. So Ian, you went to the game.
I was at the game.
Look at this lying, deceiving, scamming fans from Mighty Win. I'm happy now that I bring real fans that go to the game, because they tell the truth, man. Win 52,000, back in the manager, atmosphere great and all of that stuff. What's going on here?
I think we were nervous yesterday. The crowd was nervous, and they were really pissed off at how many times Murphy gave the ball away. Miley was so good at going past somebody and knocking it up to Murphy, who would instantly give the ball away 5 or 6 times in the first half. So that's why there would have been murmurings. I mean, I was moaning to myself because it wasn't three substitutions on the hour and Murphy wasn't included. Incredible.
Well,
but I take the point. I take the point that he was defending.
Very important.
Well, I want to ask all of you. Let me start with let me say with Win, because we've beaten up on Win. Win, we love you, man, but you do lie though to the fan. You say everything.
I do lie.
But so first of all, okay, I'm gonna give you a chance to defend yourself. Still bad dad here. He's a season ticket holder. He used to be a happy clapper. After the Macomb game, he didn't like that no more. So he's left the happy clapping building
on one game.
And he's a season ticket. No, because everything going on. But he's a season ticket holder. He told Mighty Win yesterday it was crap, the atmosphere, and it wasn't the greatest, because Mighty Win came on talking about the greatest game and all that stuff. So Ian and Kevin come in here and telling you the truth about the atmosphere. Defend yourself,
right?
Please.
Let's analyze the truth. Ian was sat, in his own words, right beside the Crystal Palace fans.
Yeah. I only got me tickets because there were the returns that the Palace fans didn't buy.
Okay, so there you go.
Didn't stop me hearing that all the way through the first half.
Because
we were
that's
really
because
quiet.
you were in the middle of it. And any fan sitting near the Newcastle away fans at a game, yeah, exactly the same thing. And it's very, very difficult to hear what's going on at the other end of the ground as well. Unless everybody, which seldom happens really, everybody gets in unison at it.
Win. If the Newcastle crowd is up for it, if it's that Liverpool game at the start of the season, for example, you can hear the Newcastle crowd in fucking Gateshead. You don't have to just be sitting next to Crystal Palace fans.
Well, I'm not saying the atmosphere yesterday.
The crowd was nervous. The crowd found it very hard to get behind the team that kept giving the ball away in the first half. It's not Eddie Howe's fault that Hall and Murphy started really, really badly in that first half. And then we missed a couple of chances. We had 2 goals were scored that then got disallowed, neither of which looked very offside. If you were sitting at one of the ends, as I was, so you can't see across the line, it was stacking up to be a horrible 0-0 draw, and that would have been really pointing. But Captain Bruno sorted it out, and
put his cape on.
Like Roy said, it was 20 minutes where you could sit back and go, "Oh look, Chow scored as well," and it was nice, relaxing end of a game, which we haven't had very many of this season.
Yeah.
I think it was USG was the last time I felt relaxed watching the last bit of a game. So I don't think it was Eddie Howe that they were moaning at, though. It's the nervousness that's built up.
There was behind
disappointing
me
results.
I almost had to say something. I'd never get Michael will tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of Newcastle fans. We're a minority, by the way, I understand. However, even I am a Newcastle fan. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? I'm going to offend someone.
I'm with you actually in a little bit.
But in terms of this guy was like, 3 substitutions, and why is Murphy still on the pitch? And I'm like, Murphy's had a horrendous game. I get it, but there's a clear reason why he's on, and it's because he's dealing with their wing back incredibly well on the right hand side. He's awful offensively. I get it, but you also need to make sure you don't concede in this game. Otherwise, you just bring Shaw off and Baltimore and Willock on, wouldn't you? Because you're not worried about conceding. You've got to be worried about conceding. Let's face it, clean sheets win games in football, right? You can outscore teams sometimes, but clean sheets win games. He's under a ridiculous amount of pressure, really, in terms of what he should be, bearing in mind what he's achieved at the club in 4 years. I'm not going to go into that rant again, but he probably is thinking, if I concede here, this is going to turn toxic. This is going to turn really bad. Murphy's doing a good job in terms of defending. I'll focus on the left side. I'll get Barnes on, and we'll go down that route to open up the goal. And funnily enough, ball comes in from the left. Miley,
really quickly,
back across, goal.
There you go. Michael, do you want to say something?
I did, but I've completely forgot what it was. To be honest. This has gone on for a while. I'm just sitting here.
I know what it was, Michael. I know what it was. You just asking why nobody's saying you look like Tom Cruise tonight. That's why
nobody's calling him Tom Cruise at the moment.
No, I think it's one of those that also with the Gordon substitution. If you got to remember, he was yellow carded just about 60 seconds beforehand as well. Yeah. So there is also the chance that Eddie Howe had looked at Murphy and gone, well, he's doing pretty terribly, isn't he? And then so Gordon gets yellow carded and going, oh, I cannot have you, Anthony Gordon, get another red card. We're 0-0 at this point. I'll take him off first. And I think it's one of those where that probably didn't happen, if I'm being completely honest, but it's always something that's there in the back of the mind because I don't trust Anthony Gordon's discipline. So I don't know.
No, I mean, it's a fair point, but I mean, Kevin was saying that Murphy was doing wingback work. I mean, you got Lewis Miley there. He's supposed to be the greatest right back we've ever seen.
No, he was dealing with their wing back. So when
their wing back. Okay,
yeah, when Mitchell went forward, we had an extra winger, which obviously Murphy had to drop very deep.
But so now
playing right wing, but
so then
countering that, he probably trusts Murphy more than Gordon to deal with.
So it's interesting because so now do we have to have our right wing doing somewhat defensive work if he can, because Murphy is not a really good defender, but you know, I guess he can chase somebody because we have to fit, because there are deficiencies with Miley defending. Is that what we're doing? Are we doing patching one thing to patch another hole, and then so on and so forth?
It was more of a formation, I think. It was there.
Miley never put a foot wrong. Miley never put a foot wrong.
He was one of the best 100%, players.
100%. Absolutely.
But you can't mark two players. You can't
mark two players. You can't.
And their left wing back. That's ridiculous. You can't do that. So Eddie Howe trusts Murphy more defensively. Not saying good defender, but in terms of tracking back, he trusts him more than he does Gordon. Because Gordon tracking back can be very lackadaisical and he can be quite lazy at times. So he trusts Murphy more, and Murphy had done quite well doing that early on in the game, and I think that's why the substitution was made. I don't fully know. I'm not in Eddie Howe's head. I wish I was. I wish I was Eddie Howe. But if I have another son, he's gonna if I have another son, he's gonna be called Edward. I've already agreed that. But it's a case of I think that was the reasoning behind it. And what bugs me is when people say, I don't understand how Murphy was still on. Well, there is a reason, probably. I'm guessing one. There could be many others, like the yellow card, like Michael said. But it's just, why are we questioning a bloke who's give us so much anyway? Like, he was God's gift 3-4 months ago.
But we can't sit here and, you know, just not do anything or say anything. We have to start. We have to think.
Definitely.
You know,
but I think it's a bit over the top. Not us, not on here, but in terms of what I read online and what I read people.
Wait until Roy
Howe said, didn't he, that it was sort of a game where you had to grind out the result and you got your clean sheet and it would do them really, really good. Because they haven't done that for so long. They used to do that all of the time. So I think, you know, the confidence has gone from some of these players, or is lower than it should be. So I think that, you know, that's a good thing. That's why they wanted to keep that clean sheet, and it worked. They got back to win nasty, really. Although they should have won 6-0, but
Roy's coiled like a spring waiting to come at you, Kev.
Go on, Roy.
No.
By the way, let me before Roy gets going, help us reach 10 super chats before the night is over, folks. Help us out, reach our goal right there. Please do that, and go on, Roy. Sorry.
Animal Lecter in with a super chat there. Yeah. Thanks, Animal. Media fans are disrupting players' confidence.
There you go.
I'm not going to say anything negative about Eddie because we won yesterday, and I'm the one who said if he takes us to the Champions League, I'm getting an Eddie Howe tattoo on my leg. So, but at the same time, last week I was Eddie Howe. I'm still not Eddie Howe as in get rid of him now. Eddie Howe as in I think he's took us as far as he can. He's not going to win the league. We know that. But even if we get another manager, we can't guarantee him winning the league. But I'm happy so far now. Again, I'm back to the. I'm half a happy clapper today.
Oh my God! 2 weeks. You see what I mean? You talk about instant.
No, but I'm still end of the season.
But this is, to be honest. Go on, mate.
Yeah, evaluate what he's done, what he does end of the season. If we go back to the Champions League,
which is all I've ever said.
Yeah, then he earns a contract again.
You're 2 points off Champions League.
Yeah, so we're not far off.
Semi-final.
I'm worried about my leg.
2 points off for Champions League, and we're in a Champions League,
Yeah.
hopefully round of 16 potentially if we beat PSV. So, and the FA Cup. We haven't played in the FA Cup yet, so seeing in all 4 competitions is a little bit of a cheat. But the 3 competitions we've been in so far, we are all in contention of what our aims are. Hopefully, win another cup. We're in the semi-final. Hopefully, get Champions League again with 2 points off Chelsea in 5th, which the coefficient spots will probably come to England again, which means 5th would be Champions League. And of course, it's a case of Champions League. We are in with a chance. We haven't just folded over. It's tough to compete on all fronts with the players we've got. Not many. How many of our players would get into the other top 4s teams? Like Willock. I'm talking about squad. Like Willock, Murphy would be nowhere near it. Alanga, Gordon potentially, maybe if he's on form. Not many of our players get into the other
problem.
What he's doing,
but the problem with that is he's the one that plays. He plays Willock. You know, he plays Gordon over Barnes. For what reason, I don't know. Mighty Wayne says he runs, and that's good. He could do the 50-meter, 100-meter. But we need footballers here. You know, so we need them to perform. And he's not performing. He plays one good game, and all of a sudden he's back.
I agree, but both options in that position wouldn't get in any other top 4 teams' position on the left wing. They just wouldn't. Like Barnes and Gordon aren't good enough to get in the teams we're competing with. So that's why, for me, Howe's the best guy.
Remember, the best player to compare.
I was just going to say, Madueke ended up bought by Arsenal. Madueke. You remember Madueke, who couldn't really hold down the place in the Chelsea team.
Chelsea, that's right.
So I think you're slagging off how good Gordon. The start of the season was the first choice for England left wing, and Arsenal need a left winger, don't they? So Liverpool have already been linked with him. I don't know why you slag Andy Gordon off.
Gordon get in Arsenal or Liverpool's team right now.
Not anymore, no.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. We're saying that he shouldn't even be in the Newcastle team half of the time right now because he's out of form. He needs the confidence and the support. I do think Barnes should get more starts on the left. It's such a shame when he does get a start, he'll get put on the right-hand side because Barnes looks fab down the left. He looked good when he came on yesterday.
Exactly. Maybe hold your mic a little bit farther from now, a little bit forward now, because Ian's. But anyway, you know, listen, you can't please all fans, man.
You remember that run we had last season? That good run we had last season. It was all Barnes. Yeah. It was all Barnes. We won the cup without Gordon as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Agreed.
Exactly, man. But the thing is, no matter what he does, he will not start, and that is a deficiency. I'm sorry, but that is something that needs to be seriously looked at. If you're a manager and you want that, you cannot endorse a manager that doesn't make the decisions that are easy, man. You know, again, we got blessed, I guess, I don't know, that Pope was hurt and he had to make the decision. He had to make the switch because Pope was costing. He cost us 9 points up until that point because of simple, easy mistakes. And so, why doesn't he take him out? You know, he's very, very loyal to a fault at times. And I mean, that has to count when you make an assessment on the manager. It has to count.
Yeah, I think with that as well, though, we've seen how poor Ramsdale has been since coming into the side, and I would argue
Chris packets for hands, didn't he? Sometimes trying to steal the shot.
100%. I'd argue he's cost us quite a few points already as well, and I completely agree. The fact that we've gone into the season with, and I said Ollie Pope there, he's the cricketer, Nick Pope, and Aaron Ramsdale as our goalkeepers, well, John Ruddy as well, is pretty atrocious. Whether you think James Trafford's the answer or not, that's a question for a different time. But to go in with two keepers who are bang average at best, not really all-rounders, which Newcastle need, it's pretty atrocious, to be honest. And I think that's the one thing that needs sorted. But I think the fact that we went into the season with those two in the first place has been the problem, in my opinion.
I think it was difficult to prioritise a goalkeeper there, because obviously we talked about at the end of last season how squad depth was going to be important, because this time being in the Champions League, we need a couple extra midfielders. So obviously Alanga comes in to try and solve the right wing problem. It hasn't worked out. Obviously, he's not hit any sort of form at Newcastle yet, but hopefully he'll come good. So I thought Elanga was a key position to improve. Ramsey, we needed another centre midfielder, especially with Longstaff going. And we needed the other positions more, such as 2 strikers, because Isak went. So I think the hand maybe was forced in terms of how many players or how much money we could spend in the last window. And I think the lack of depth in midfield on the wings and in the striker department was probably more of a right now need. And you could probably get to January or maybe even next season with Pope or Ramsdale. But I agree, we're both not good enough long term. But I just feel like the squad depth in terms of midfield, the wings in striker position was much more important in terms of this summer just gone.
Yeah. Epic NUFC says, I would get a good right back and center back, and we need a right wing. Well, the right wing situation, we haven't fixed that in how long now? For some odd reason. So
I still haven't totally given up on Elanga.
I haven't given up on
I agree.
Elanga.
Same.
Yeah, he could come good, but he's
games.
not the answer right now, is he? So unfortunately, he might come good.
Gordon looked like a waste of money when he first came in. It took him 6 months to get going.
Agreed.
How's great coaching. Elanga will come good, just like the rest of them.
Absolutely.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
I think Elanga plays better away than at home because the teams are more open.
That's for fans, isn't it? Last time Elanga was on the pitch, right wing, he came off the bench and the ball got played to him, and before it reached him, there was and I was looking around thinking, give the guy a break, give him a bit of support. We're supposed to be this famous, support them no matter what. As long as we don't demand a team that wins, we demand a team that tries. And Elanga's trying too hard at the minute. And before he gets the ball, there's fans groaning, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Try and give the guy a break. I think that's why he is better away from home. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe that the away fans are more brutal than the home fans.
I think we'll stick with them more during the game. During the game, we'll just sing no matter what. Whereas the home fans, like Ian said, against Palace, it was like a period, 30, 35 minutes, thinking, we better not lose this. And I'm thinking, that's going to filter down onto the pitch, and that's not going to help right now. Whereas the away fans would still keep singing and then be more brutal at the end of the game.
Hey, guys, Ian, tell Ian to pick up his mic up again. I can't hear him.
That's because I haven't said anything.
Exactly. There you go.
TV's off the wall again.
No, but listen, I don't know what's going to happen with Eddie Howe. I am above the belief that I don't think he's going to take us any forward than what he has, which is a lot. But I don't think so. I don't think we need to sack him now. First of all, word sack shouldn't be yet. We need to just his term at Newcastle should come to an end at the end of the season with a proper send off and all that stuff.
Sorry, Chris, I am going to challenge you, Chris. You do know, don't you? Second to last penultimate game of last season, which I thought we dominated, but unfortunately lost 1-0 at Arsenal. If we'd won that, we'd have jumped above them to go second. And you bet your bollocks that we would have beaten Everton at home to stay second. How much further do you want Eddie Howe to take Newcastle?
To be fair, we couldn't beat Everton to secure Champions League. If that's not enough of a motivation, I'm not sure second would.
To be fair, I get what Chris is saying, right? Because any of us can see how lifting the Premier League at Newcastle realistically, because we've never seen Newcastle lift a trophy
I'm not
for so long.
The Premier League is obviously another objective.
2027 centenary.
I don't even think that. I don't think we can do. I don't think that's a realistic expectation. To be fair, my expectation of Newcastle United is to be a team that is in the fight for Champions League year in and year out, 4th, 5th in the fight with Man United, with Chelsea, with Tottenham, and some fell off like Tottenham, and be a regular at that, not fall short of simple mistakes or in-game management. I feel like if he was the manager to learn. If he needed to learn that, to experience that and learn it, well, when is he going to learn it? Because at some point, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect to be glorified or worshipped for the same. You've got to make an improvement. You've got to make a change or learn if you're going to learn. And if he continues to make the same, if we continue as a team to fall into the same predicament every season where we need 9-game, 10-game runs to get back into Europe again, then that's a problem. That's a problem. You can't expect to do that every season.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is some fair points there. I think actually probably 90% of that's fair. But I think, say if we're only 2 points off Champions League. So out of 4 full seasons at the end of this season, if he gets Champions League, that's 3 out of 4 seasons, 4 full seasons. Obviously, his first one you can't count because he took over with 19, so he's not going to get Champions League. So out of 4 full seasons, if he gets it at the end of this season, that's 3 out of 4. That is consistently qualifying for the Champions League with, again, like I say, not many of our squad would get in them teams you're mentioning, the Chelsea and City's, Arsenal's, who were also going for Champions League. Not many of our players get in their team. I think I agree what you're saying about the mistakes and changing. I think eventually we maybe see Voldemort as a 10 in a 4-2-3-1. I think that could be Howe's long-term goal.
And he's rigid. He's rigid because, again, like you said, why won't he? We're losing against the Mackhams, or we need points. We need to try to get a game, get 3 points against Chelsea, maybe because we gave up the lead. When we need a goal, why won't he change? Why won't he play 2 center forwards? Why won't he?
He did
it a long time ago. He did it a long time ago when he could.
Against Arsenal in the semi-final of a cup. He schooled Arteta. Actually, everyone's talking about Arteta, and I agree. But he schooled Arteta in the League Cup semi-final, and he schooled Arne Slot in the League Cup final as well. I think he does change, but I think recently he hasn't. And I think that's where the criticism is coming from, because we haven't been anywhere near the position we want to be in the table, and because he has stuck with 4-3-3 other than the time he tried to go 5 at the back and it didn't work. I think there is a lot of kind of, this is now not changing, but he has changed in terms
by the
of...
way,
man, Roy? Where's your list of stats?
I've got loads of stats if you want.
But listen.
The mistake. I've got hundreds of mistakes. I don't want to list just one. So I'm keeping this episode positive. We've won. Again, I hope
that Crystal Palace performance is a performance where I would agree with 100% of the happy clappers to give those happy clapping statements. You're like, we didn't play good, but we got the win. We should be happy. We should be content, and we move on to the next one. But we cannot forget what's happened not too long ago. The Burnley performance. Yeah, but we won, and all of that. We were atrocious, man, against Burnley, if not the worst team in the Premier League alongside Wolves. Atrocious. And we've had performance. We gave up leads left and right. We could have just done that early. We could have just done. So we can't sit here for an hour and a half and say, look, we beat them. What is it? 2-1. I think it was the score against Burnley. 2-1 score, and then we just show that. 3-1. I forgot the lucky goal at the end. Yeah, I forgot that gift by the goalkeeper.
English football fans have been saying the Premier League's the best league in the world. Who other than Arsenal has been consistent this season?
No, come on, man.
That's true.
Aston Villa, and that's not me trying to be an Aston Villa because it's easier. The easiest comeback from a happy clapper is to tell me go be a Villa fan. Then have no because they have no other substance to come up with. Because Aston Villa has been a regular Champions League to Europa League contender, They had never dropped off.
When Villa were in the Champions League, they did drop off. So when Villa were in the Champions League last season,
but that was last season, and now they're back in what?
But you've got to compare. You've got to compare a similar environment. So Villa being in the Champions League last season, doing quite well in the Champions League. I think we got the quarterfinals, didn't we? We did really well, but they really struggled in the league for a long time because they struggled with balancing Champions League, League Cup, Premier League as well. We're now in that same environment where we've had the struggle, but we're still only 2 points off 5th. Yes, it could be a lot better, and you're absolutely right, to be fair, Chris. There's games where we have been very poor, and there's games where I've looked at it as Eddie Howe's #1 fan and thought, something's not right here. What is going on? This is awful. However, Villa this season are going to be better because we're in a Europa League where they can play a second string. They can play a lot of the young players. They can change the team on a Thursday night or a Wednesday night in the Europa League. We cannot do that against Barcelona, against PSV, against Marseille away. We can't do that. So in terms of a drop off, Villa had a drop off too. When they were in the same environment as us right now, I think if we were in the Europa League next season, you would see us do similar to what Villa were doing.
But
Similar clubs.
I don't necessarily agree with everything you're saying, but let's say you're right, and I agree with you. That in itself proves or shows that he might not be the manager, because if he can't manage Newcastle United in Champions League, then that's where we need to be. Surely the fix is not let's not qualify for Europe, so we have one game a week.
No.
Surely that's not the fix.
He's doing much better this time.
And again, with Emery, Emery's a fantastic manager, amazing. And he was getting criticised last season when he couldn't balance for Champions League. It's a very hard thing to do with a club like Newcastle or Villa. However, if you're Manchester City and you've got 3 squads, you've got the promising young players, you've got the backup players like Marmoush, who would walk into almost any other Premier League's team, and then you've got the Haalands, who are just superstars. It's very easy to balance.
What excuse that Sunderland, who's had a better season than us this season, what excuse do they have? What does Brentford have to be above us right now to be where they're at? The fact that they're not in Champions League. So that's it.
No. I agree. We should be above them clubs, and I'm not saying it's been perfect this season. I'm genuinely not. I honestly think we could be doing a lot better. There's so many games we could have won, which we haven't, and it's fair to criticise in that moment. But I think, in terms of Eddie Howe, Sunderland have had an amazing season. They've done, and let's be honest, right? We're Newcastle fans, but if we're all honest, Sunderland have been the story of the season. The Championship teams always go straight back down. Sunderland have come up and they've been fantastic, right? I don't like saying it. Makes me feel a little bit sick in my mouth, but they've been amazing. Brentford are doing something nobody thought possible. Thomas Frank left, Wissa left, and Buemo left, and somehow they've just become set-piece FC and done amazing again. And they have done fantastic, and we should be above them teams, you're right, but we probably will be if you give us another 3 or 4 weeks. We probably will be above Brentford and Sunderland in 3 or 4 weeks. So
never judge a painting when it's half finished.
Well, that's why we talk about it after every game. We can't have one show at the end of the season and then call it a day. We got to talk about after every game.
I agree.
Ian, you're looking at me sideways, mate. Tell me, man. Go on.
I'm not. I'm agreeing with what you said. I do think that it's harsh to criticise how it fell off when we were in the Champions League the last time, because we didn't have a squad big enough to deal with it. It's a better squad this year. There's slightly less injuries, but we've got a better quality of backup player, if you like. So I think we will do, once these home games against the easier teams balance out. I think we'll be able to compete in the Champions League and be challenging for Champions League places through January, February, and March. So, and I don't think he's got to the end of it. It's just been progression year on year. It'll look like progression at the end of this year. Trust me.
We do have a ceiling through PSR and obviously the years of neglect, through Ashley and all that stuff. We do have a ceiling, which I don't think anybody can take us to, other than Howe, who is, if we get, like I say, it's all ifs and buffs, Chris. You're right. It's about now. But if he does get Champions League at the end of this season as well, that's 3 out of 4 full seasons in the Champions League, which is incredible.
And the one that he didn't, by the way, we're only 6 points short there. We would have been in Europe if Man United hadn't beaten Man City in the cup final. We got the Europa League place.
Don't forget that we could have stayed in Europa League that season if we had managed the game better against Milan at home. So we can't forget things that happen throughout.
I agree.
This whole time. So
we could have been in the Europa League.
Yeah.
Like it's human nature. Like how we'll make mistakes, us fans will make mistakes, players will make mistakes, and we will lose games. It's part of the game. And like I say, other than Arsenal, there is no other really consistent team this year. We were patched at the start of the season, but I think we were down in 17th after the first 4 or 5 games. And you're thinking, well, they had a period of 5 games where they weren't great. I don't think there's been anybody really that consistent other than Arsenal.
Angry Noob Gamer wants me to answer. How many points do we get if we play crap and score 3 goals and win? Answer, Chris.
3.
3. But what is? Oh, you're talking about the 3-1 against Burnley. I mean, it's a P take. Really, if you're trying to say that we played great that game because we scored 3 goals, you got to look at every single play. Come on, man. That goalkeeper, who was a former Newcastle United player, gave us a goal. I mean, come on.
One of our own.
We beat them. Exactly. So Howe,
that was the goal. That was the goal that brought my correct score prediction bet in, though.
Good
So
for
thanks,
you.
Martin.
Which,
Oh,
by the way,
I
next
wouldn't-
season,
got done for betting.
next
I'm gonna
next
get
season,
done
all of
next.
you, next season, all of you need to join our prediction tournament because it's getting pretty hot right now. There's a lot of people in it. I think it's 185 quid, 185 quid. The winner takes all, baby. Or not all, but some of it. We're trying to spread the love. We're trying to spread. We're trying to spread the love amongst all the participants. I think if you were
First
fourth,
7
you get
gets
money.
someone.
Exactly. First to 7.
Right.
Imagine that. You know what I mean? We were going. That's the mediocrity that
You've
we
got to qualify for Europe.
we, you know what I mean? Like you can be.
I'm in
You
the
can
Champions
get
League,
money.
then.
You can get money if you're 7th. If you're Brentford right now, you can get some money. Come on.
You get a prize if you're 7th.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I don't know this. I don't think Eddie Howe's going to go anywhere. Time will tell if Eddie Howe will be able to be the manager. Of course, we'll see at the end of the season, I guess. But there's no denying, because Lee Ryder came up with a question that was very pertinent, in my opinion, and Eddie Howe was rattled by his answer. He was. No sugarcoating here. He was rattled. He didn't like the only first journalist ever in the last 4 years to even hint to question his that game against Burnley. He didn't like it. He brought up, did you look at the stats? I think that's very poor, if you ask me, from a manager, to tell you, did you look at the stats to justify that performance? You would have expected something more eloquent, something like what Kevin has been doing all night, but you need a little more. Instead of saying, did you look at the stats? I think that's very poor from a manager to
I like
say
this
that.
answer about the plan B, though, which I half agree with.
I loved his answer about Plan B, but more importantly, he got railed because of the term onslaught by Burnley. And as I've said, in previous shows, when I showed the chart showing where all the progress in attacking was, it was all Newcastle. For a couple of 15 minutes, 2 15-minute periods when Burnley were in. So that what he was right to say that was not an onslaught.
I think
Certainly not an
overall,
onslaught like the Arsenal game at home was.
it was a poor game overall.
That was an second half was an onslaught.
Both teams were poor.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter if both teams are poor at the end of the day. I mean, we want to be better. We want to dominate every game. But like I've said, it's a case of 3 points are very important. Of course, your performances are also massively important. Absolutely. But we're not confident at the minute. We're probably in our worst period-ish of the last 4.5 years. And we're still only 2 points off 5th. And I think if we can, and I know you're right, Chris, we can't rely on putting runs together. But if we can get some good performances back into the team and some confidence there, I think we will be fine. But it is all ifs and buts, and we shouldn't be in an ifs and buts position. But all we can do at the minute is trust the guy who hasn't really done us wrong yet. Yes, he's made mistakes, as have all managers, but I can't see any other manager in the Premier League who I would rather have get the best out of players like Joe Linton.
And that's going to be a big question to answer. Of course, who could be the one?
Chris, sorry, Chris. I was just going to say, it did sound like you thought it was a bad thing somehow. Newcastle putting together a run of 9 straight wins.
No,
that's because they had to. My point is, a team that could put that sort of run together in the season, 2 runs like that together in the season, and that's a team like Manchester City that runs away with the Premier League.
It's an amazing thing, but when you play poorly and then you have to depend on winning. Now you got to win the next 10 games because if not, then our season is screwed.
We don't.
Then we're not.
We need to win. We need to win the next 2 to end up in the Champions League places. So
yeah, we're talking about how now is going. You're talking about now, but
yeah,
it wasn't like that a month ago.
But we must have been close enough to be able to do that because we've not beaten everybody.
There were other
in the
teams
last
that
month.
lost points as well, though. Other teams helped us out, though.
Of course, that's the whole point that Kev's making. Arsenal are consistent. Arsenal are consistent. Everybody else is dropping points left, right, and centre. Neither Arsenal nor Man U could take more than a point away from. I nearly said Roker Park. Then showed me age a bit. The Stadium of Light, could they?
Roker Park.
They got held there.
Here's the thing, right? we're saying sack Eddie now. A lot of Roy's
Nobody
crew,
said that.
Good big people are saying that.
Roy's crew are all saying sack him
Again,
now, sack him now. They were saying it weeks
deceiving,
ago.
and scamming.
And let's just have a look at this. The biggest club in the world. Well, second biggest. If you know, it's between Man United
Liverpool.
and Real Madrid. Well, the biggest club in the world.
Not better
Who's,
than
let's have a look at
Barcelona.
let's have a look at the
Real Madrid
bookies.
is the biggest club.
The bookies list. I agree with you, Roy. The bookies list. This is for the Man United job. Favourite, Oliver Glasner. Second favourite, Darren Fletcher. Third favourite, Enzo Maresca. Fourth favourite,
Maresca.
Xavi Hernandez.
That's a proper
Fifth
manager.
favourite, Gareth Southgate. Sebastian Hoeneß. Iriola. Michael Carrick. Ola Gunnar Solskjaer. And right down at 25 to 1, Unai Emery. Who would have any of those at Newcastle instead of
Xavi-
Eddie Howe?
I'd
And
take
that's the
Xavi
biggest
Hernandez.
club in the world looking for a manager now.
Yeah. No, they're not the biggest club in the world. They're by third, fourth. But the second biggest club in the world, Barcelona, was managed by Xavi Hernandez, and it was dross to watch. Not under him. When he came in, he fixed that club. So that's why you got to watch other leagues, other teams win, so you can expand that little, thing you got in there. You can expand it and know that Xavi Hernandez did excellent at Barcelona, of course, but it's not easy. It's so easy here. All the managers, it's so easy to manage a big club, right? A big team, because you get to spend all the money you want to. It's not that easy, mate. The pressures that come managing a big club are not the same. There was no expectations for Eddie Howe when he came to Newcastle United. None. If you go to Man U, there are expectations. And a Carabao Cup ain't going to get it done. It's not. So I respect somebody like Xavi Hernandez who can do and also he can call anybody in the world and persuade them to come to Newcastle. That's something that you don't like to hear, and some fans don't like to hear, but that matters when you are under PSR restrictions. That pool does matter when you got to compete against other teams. We got a super chat there from Luca. Go on.
Gentlemen, just joined the video. What do you think? Who's going to hop in the England squad for the World Cup from our team? And what are our chances to finish Champions League top 8? Well, that's completely changing the subject, but I think Livermore and Hall are almost guaranteed. If they stay fit.
Gordon will be there and probably Burn.
Gordon's in the squad right now, so it's his place to lose.
I'm
And
hoping to see
Dan Burn will be there at centre back.
I generally think
I would I'd like to throw Lewis Miley's name into the ring if Tuchel watches him often enough and he gets moved back into the midfield.
It's a problem for Miley. The midfield for England is so strong. That's the only issue there. I think Hall's got a bit of an advantage over Miley because left backs was only really Lewis Skelly. So obviously you're going to take...
Livramento for sure.
Livramento for sure. Yeah. But I just think Miley might struggle because of his position, is what I'm trying to say. I think there's so many good central midfielders for England.
But there aren't central midfielders who can play either fullback, though. And he loves a bit of versatility. Does old Tommy.
Tommy Tuchel.
Mate?
Chris, you're on mute.
Chris, you're muted.
Sorry, my only concern is that with the Lewis Miley, I think he's been playing really well. But they getting carried away is my biggest concern, because we did get carried away with Dan Burn on the left, and we couldn't see straight. He is the greatest left back. He is Roberto Carlos. You know what I mean? And
Nobody said that.
No, a lot of people did. You
said Dan Burn was the greatest left back?
I don't know. The mighty win. He wants him a left back. Blah blah. So the point is, we cannot get carried away. He's doing good, but that's not his position. That all of a sudden, because now you get fans. Dominic Skir, he's a journalist coming up with a post. I don't know if he's joking or what. He's probably joking, but at the end of the day, he didn't put LOL at the end. He just kept it at that, which he said, can you believe that Newcastle have the greatest, the best 3 fullbacks in the country? You know, getting carried away like that is a problem to me. Now you got fans, and I just saved one comment. It says,
hang on. He's not talking about Dan Burn.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, because Lewis Miley, he's included Lewis Miley.
Exactly.
So now I'm saying we're risking making the same mistake as we did with Dan Burn, thinking that he is a left back when he isn't. And the same thing with Lewis Miley now. Dominic Skerr saying, putting Lewis Miley, including him in the list of fullbacks that are playing great in the country. Sam here, a fan.
All Dominic Skerr is doing there is exemplifying what a fantastic game Miley's had playing.
He could have just said that. He could have just said that he's having a fantastic game. Sam,
Miley, by the way,
fan. Just hold on. See, one fan here. Has Tino Livramento ever been as good as Lewis Miley at right back? This fan, and that's why I also sometimes hate Newcastle United fans like Kevin, because all of a sudden we're now comparing him to Tino Livramento, and all of a sudden we don't need Livramento, and whenever Livramento's fit, Miley will be in that position over Livramento.
But the same fans will tell you that Livramento's better on the left, so we don't need Lewis Hall.
Lewis Hall in midfield.
But they are fullbacks though.
You can't win both ways.
Every club.
Lewis Miley, by the way, at 19, Lewis Miley is a regular starter for England under 21s. That's why I thought he might be promoted. There'll have to be a few injuries, it's true. But this chap who asked who was going to hop into the squad, and I think Lewis Miley might have a shout if there's some injuries, which there will be.
You
heard it here first, Chris.
I'm with Chris on the Newcastle fans. Obviously, Michael and Ian will know from our previous pod, but I have a very love-hate relationship with Newcastle fans, and it is an issue, and Chris is bang on about it actually. But also, what's massively important is we need to just calm down a little bit in terms of expectations of the club, because Chris said a very fair expectation earlier in the show of consistently going for the top 4. I think that's a very fair expectation, not getting carried away. Some fans I speak to are talking now about the next level. Can we go up the next level? Oh, what are you talking about?
They think we're already at that stage.
Money. We're not even where Chris is yet, which is a very fair target. And there's some fans saying, well, I want to challenge for the league. I'm like, well, that just can't happen right now. We're miles off.
We just don't have the. We just don't have the. We don't have the personnel to compete like that and maintain Europe. We struggling now to a certain extent. So that wouldn't be a fair expectation at all.
But it's as well as players, like you said about Miley's now better than Livramento and all this stuff rubbish. It's not just the players that do it with. Newcastle fans do it with like the actual club, and I think that's where the issue comes with some people wanting the whole Eddie Howe in out. I cannot believe that's a debate after the season we had last season, and obviously it hasn't been great this year. I get it, but there's always ups and downs in football, and I understand that you can absolutely criticise. Of course you can, and you can absolutely ask questions. I just think long term, it's a case of I think it's. I'd be good to get what you guys think. I know we're coming towards the end, but surely he has enough in the bank, right, to make mistakes. I mean, after what he's done, I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a romantic, and I love seeing loyal kind of managers. And I don't like that Amarin's gone from Man U, mainly because he was hopeless. But also, I don't like seeing managers just be given up on. And I think he's probably got enough in the bank to make some mistakes, which he has. And it's fair to criticise, but I can't believe there's a whole in-out debate. Surely he's got enough in the bank, right?
Well, the thing is, some mistakes do cost you points, and some you get eliminated from, and there's no going back from that. So,
Roy, I cannot believe the way you're sitting mum here through all of this.
We are not.
I cannot believe it. If that had been in the chat, you would have been 13 points lost from losing positions. Last minute goals conceded.
Wait. Yesterday was our first clean sheet in almost 3 months.
Yeah.
So
that is true.
Step forward, that right?
First clean sheet in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm buzzing because I've got Chow on my fantasy team. I've had him on from day one, and finally got me some. So we can't just jump and happy clap because we won a game and we beat one. Burnley are the worst team in the league, not Wolves. Because if you watch Wolves the last 5 or 6 games, they're not half as bad as some of the other teams. They battered West Ham.
They did.
And
that's a tough away match, by the way.
I'm dreading that game. I told DX yesterday, we'll probably win the first 2 home games, with those 2 home games, Palace and Leeds, and we'll the hardest game we've got. Because
it will be a tough game. They've won now, haven't they?
Yeah,
depends if we can buy Strand Larson. Buy Strand Larson before we play them.
Would you buy Strand Larson?
Well, that is.
They're talking about the price down from 60 to 30, 35.
That is a topic that I wanted to bring up. That is a topic that I want to bring up. It's on my list here because apparently, not apparently Newcastle were in for him, but even 30 million is not probably. It's probably too much because we do need a backup, and Osula might leave. Osula might leave though.
Straight swap, I'd do that.
Straight up to what? You can't. No,
I'm saying if we get 30 million for Osula and we'll pay 30 million for Strand Larson, that's a good deal. That.
I don't know, man. Larson, he, as King K would say, he went down in my estimation. So, he's.
Well, I've never rated him.
That's what happened. That's what happened. No, yeah. No, he's not. He's not Dross, man. But you're not going to pay him. This is the art of the deal. You're not going to pay a lot of money for him because Wolves are in a bad form, in a bad situation. They're going to get relegated. So you gotta be ruthless and basically pretty much steal him. So he's still a decent striker. He's not going to be.
Now, just clarify that I was asking whether we should buy Larson, not because I want him to play centre forward for Newcastle, just because it would mean that he wouldn't be playing centre forward for Wolves. The way that we bought Chris Wood.
Chris Wood from Burnley when we were in the relegation.
There was a thing
same thing
about us having one of the best. We've got the top 3 squads in the league, and I'm like, what? No way. We're nowhere near the top 3 squads in the league, so I wouldn't worry too much about the comment about Strand Larson.
Buy him and give him out on loan to Wolves, then he can't play against us, and then he can play for them against the other teams.
Roy should be working for a tune with that mentality.
Charge a loan fee.
He couldn't do a worse job as loan manager than Amoeba's doing.
Amoeba, you mean?
No, Amoeba. It was a deliberate slip of the tongue.
I met Shola last week. I will never have that man criticised.
There you go.
You ask him what he's been doing for the last 2 years.
He was watching me play.
By the way, Joe White has returned to the club following his loan spell at Leyton Orient. So there you go. Joe White is back. I don't know what for, to be honest.
Joe White had immense promise. Immense promise. And I've got a pal who's a Crew supporter. And he says he was brilliant for them.
That is
he was gutted when the loan came to an end.
It's part of a crew from what? Like a ship? What are you on about, man? What the heck?
Joe White went on loan to Crew Alexandra, and my pal's the Crew Alexandra season ticket holder.
And that's a club? Oh my God,
that's a club.
That's the clubs we're loaning them out to, man.
That's a league club.
Man. That is criminal. Newcastle United loaning players out to clubs like that, man. Okay.
I think what we can quite clearly see is that our youth team isn't good enough. We've seen that in the Champions League. And let's be honest, when we're parking, and I use that name properly, when we're using the example of Park for someone that, should be on the bench potentially for Newcastle, that shows you how terrible they are, because he came from the Korean second tier, and let's be honest, he wasn't exactly setting that league alight either. He needs to go out on loan to these kind of clubs, but as we say, Joe White at Leyton Orient, they didn't fancy him at all. So let's be honest, I think he got 106 minutes or something like that. So if he's going somewhere like that, Shola's definitely not doing his job properly. And for me, I think none of our youth prospects are going to get close to Miley, Anderson, maybe not even Sean Longstaff, unfortunately. So
That's
it's a
over
really
the years, isn't it? I remember I mentioned something before about like years of neglect, and actually I saw a comment come up saying, "What's that got to do anything anymore?" And it's like, well, Man City have 3 squads, don't we? We have the youth players we can bring in or sell for big profit, so we can spend lots of money. We have a second team, we have a first team, and obviously we can kind of switch and swap. We literally barely scraped together a second team through first teamers in terms of registered players, and when there was just not a lot of youth prospects other than Miley, and that is because of years of neglect, which again also has to come into it. When you look at where we want to be as a club, we probably want to have the best academy and training facilities in the world eventually, and I think that could be a very promising way to maybe see us potentially move up from just a regular Champions League club to hopefully potentially challenging in a long, long time. But yeah, that could be a good way in for us.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he'll just come back to the reserves. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what else is he gonna do?
He's not going to get out of the
But this is not new though. It's been bad for over 30 years, 35 since Keegan as well.
Yeah, but now we're supposed to be a proper team, man. Come on, we can't have Shola Omiobi in there.
Kev, you live in Chesley Street because I lived in Chesley Street, and my neighbour was black and white through and through, and his kid played for Sunderland.
Yeah,
because their academy is better than ours.
Yeah, the academy is amazing. Yeah, our academy's been neglected for so long, and it's going to take more than. It's going to take 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Take 10 years.
Before we start getting the level of coaches we want in that area and the level of players we want coming through. But yeah, Sunderland's academy's produced much better players than Newcastle's in recent years. Just Henderson, Pickford, miles ahead of anything we produced other than maybe potentially Mighty coming up.
I think one time here we were talking about, if you say you're a Geordie, but your kid is trying to play football, I mean, you really have to. Some fans didn't. You would never play for Sunderland. You got a Newcastle. Yeah, but if you're really objective and you want your kid to make it, what academy are you going to take him to? If it's between Sunderland and Newcastle, if you're really trying your kid to get an opportunity, I mean, you probably try Newcastle at first, trying to see. But I'm just.
I would try and sell him to Newcastle and guarantee minutes, but if that can't happen, then yeah, you are going to go elsewhere. I mean, like Middlesbrough's academy as well. A lot of them championship clubs, like the Brentfords and the Brighton, not that they're championship clubs, but the lesser sized clubs.
And one lad
have to be so good in that area and keep producing players. We need to get to that level so it can help us kind of pad out our squad a little bit. But it's a long way off. 8 years would be a successful turnaround for that.
And one lad that suffered from that a long time ago was Michael Carrick, a Geordie. Had to go to London. Mighty win. What do you think about Carrick? Legend for Man United.
Not a fan
of what? Not a fan of what?
Michael Carrick, I think he's overhyped.
You compared him to one player that played for us not too long ago.
Sean Longstaff.
Carrick was much better than Longstaff.
I'm not disputing he was better than Sean Longstaff, but what I'm saying is
maybe it's Dr. Evil and Mini-Me. They look the same, but
I cannot believe you said that, man.
You're out your mind, man.
Even Shearer had to go to Southampton.
Oh, yeah. He did.
Even Bobby Clark recently was a young prospect in Newcastle, had to go to Liverpool. Liverpool picked him up off us because, again, the academy's not good enough. But hopefully that's something the new owners can put right, again, pretty quickly. But it'll take a long time to start developing players of the standard we need and want to help us pad out our squad. So until then, it's being clever in the transfer market, isn't it?
I can't believe when you stepped on the stick that easy. Man, you fell for it.
Bother us have to stand by me convictions.
That's the problem with you.
It's just who we are, mate. It's just who we are.
I cannot, man. Hey, Ian, you cannot allow somebody of your generation. He's not your generation though. Mighty Wayne is older than Methuselah, but you're not there yet. But you can't allow an old timer to say that in front of you, man. Come on, man. Longstaff to Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick compared to Longstaff. Michael Carrick.
What I'm saying is
Manchester United legend, man.
They are they have the same characteristics as players. They run around marking fresh air in the referee.
No. Carrick had much more about
Carrick was a bit more than that, but Carrick
pull from him.
Carrick learned everything at Tottenham, though, didn't he? Not at Man U.
Well, no, I know, but he started at West Ham.
In West Ham
and Tottenham, yeah.
And then Tottenham, and of course, but Newcastle weren't interested, man. Can you believe that? we could. Well, we would have been our best player. He would have been our best player at that time, but he would have never came to Newcastle though because he was at his peak at Man U at the time. You know, so Ashley would have never bought Carrick though.
No, it was before Ashley. It was way before Ashley.
No, but he was in his heyday, 2009, 2008, 9, 7. You know, at Man U. What was that? But no, Ashley came in what?
Not towards the end.
08.
Ashley came in the summer of 2007.
08. So yeah. But anyway, I just came. I had to do it when, but you just fell for it, man. I can't believe you, man. Michael Carrick, and you, if you were Geordie, I mean, what more pride do you need, man, for a Geordie to be on top of the world? I mean, and Mighty Win is a hater, man. He doesn't like Geordies, truly. He doesn't, man. He just taking the mic.
Not Geordies who play for Man United.
Put another Geordie. What was he supposed to do? Well. Was he supposed to kidnap? You said the same thing, and I said this exact same answer. Was he supposed to do that player that went to Birmingham? Was he supposed to go in there, open the door, and just what was that player again? I keep forgetting his name. That from Birmingham to QPR on transfer day, he literally drove to. Yeah, that's it. That was he supposed to? That was famous, man. A famous story. Michael Carey? Was he supposed to drive to Newcastle and just jump over the fence and get in the club and say, "I'm not buy me right now"? Was he supposed to do that?
Yep.
No, he's not, man. Oh, that's the truth. That's your true colors right there. Your resentment that he didn't. What is he supposed to do? He needs to be approached if you wanted him at the club. But he wasn't approached, man. Just be happy for Geordie. That's it. But
I was happy he wasn't approached because I never rated him.
I mean, that was shambolic.
Oh yeah, man, that's shambolic. Anyway, comments. We got before we got no time actually left, but let's go. Jordy Howe, man, midfield is probably the most combative area on the pitch. Is Miley too nice to play there? There's a right back role could just be the making of a star, in my opinion. That I don't know, man. I'm not sure about that, but neither here nor there. Becca, how
Miley is changing into a shit house, so don't worry. He's 6'4".
Maybe.
Miley's
in the gym.
Lewis Miley's from Stanley. There's no way is he too much of a nice guy. He's got a bit of rough and ready about him from Stanley. Come on.
He needs to be He needs to be our Yaya Toure, man. Put him in the midfield. Let him perform. He'll be all right. Becca says, "How would have less control at Man United than he wanted here? I just can't see him working for Ratcliffe."
I completely agree.
We got one here. Tony says, anyone else thinks Michael looks a bit like Alex Crook? There you go, baby.
Alex Crooked.
Who's Alex Crooked?
Alex Crooked. Alex Crooked.
Michael lookalikes.
Maybe Alex Crooked. But who's Alex Crooked? You say, Win?
I'm just looking him up.
Are you kidding me? This dude watches no football whatsoever, man, or any. And I'm telling you, man, he just goes to the game, gets pissed, falls asleep in the stand, and then comes back home. Doesn't do anything else. No preparation. He's a
he
journalist,
does look like
man.
Alex Crook.
Alex Crook
He's
like
like
me.
Rafa Benitez when he's got a goatee. Michael's the double of
Definitely
Rafa.
Rafa Benitez. Yeah, there you go.
Let's get the name plate.
He says, "I'll take Alex Krug over Jason Cundy." Somebody say you look like Cundy. You don't look like Cundy, man.
No,
John Candy.
John Candy.
Oh, John Candy. Oh,
No,
I didn't
radio
know that is.
presenter at Talk Sport.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, John Candy. Yeah, that's right. No, Alex Crook is he's a presenter there at TalkSport. Man U fan. Yeah, man. I can't believe when we need to have a meeting after this.
I don't watch Talk Sport, man.
Yeah, remember, Chris, only ever happy when we get beat or when Eddie is tapped by other clubs. Pure doomsday sayer. Not at all, man. I try to stay in the middle and be objective. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, Man, do you think, by the way, just when you're talking about that, when Amarin comes out and says, "Look, I'm the manager, not the coach," so he gets sacked. Does that not mean that any manager with anything about him is going to shy away from taking that job now?
Hopefully.
It's really, really difficult for them to put anybody in.
Maybe the good ones won't, and I'm happy about that. They need Southgate. They're made for each other.
There's your reinforcements, Roy. Now you
can
admit
always-
we are top of the league
Yeah, but-
for losing points from one position. And by
That's
the
a fair
way,
point.
we've never
we
won
are.
from a losing position.
It's just who we are, mate.
That's a fair point, by the way.
And
That
we're
isn't
still
true
2
anymore, by
points
the
off
way.
Champions League.
That
isn't
is
true
a
anymore.
That doesn't discount.
That
That doesn't discount
is-
any of the good stuff where we're only 2 points. It's not great, I agree, but it doesn't discount anything.
But it isn't true anymore. Listen, it isn't. I know we had 13 points lost.
Well, what are we?
We were
Second now?
level. We were level with Brentford,
Oh,
but then Brentford went through their win away.
We're
didn't
level
they?
with Brentford at giving away leads.
No.
Get in, Ian.
No, Brentford then dropped another lead, so we're not top of that league anymore.
Hey, you know what it proves? You know what it proves, Ian?
Proves that we're wangers.
Come on, man. That's what it proves, man. But listen,
I don't like
it
being
is
top of that league.
Hey, look, we've had a great show. A lot of banter, a lot of opinion. Super opinionated debates here. Roy, we'll have to have a conversation with him because it wasn't the usual Roy. You know, when we need to coach him, man.
It's 2 in the morning, man.
That is true, by the way. He is in Qatar at 2 in the morning over there.
Commitment.
That is commitment, and that's exactly right. Fellas, thank you very much. Kevin, amazing debut, mate. Good stuff. With part of the crew now, part of NUFC Talk, as well as Michael, as well as Ian, Roy, and unfortunately, Mighty Win here all the time. So there you go.
I can't be bothered with all this shooting politics, to be honest.
Anyways, we'll be back again tomorrow. Presser win tomorrow. Presser, mate.
I've been trying to find it on the schedule. It's not there.
It's there, mate. Presser tomorrow. Don't try to sugarcoat so you don't get up. Stop being lazy, man. It's 9 in the morning. Get up. It's not that hard, mate. 9 in the morning. Presser live on NUFC Talk, and then later on tonight.
Hey man, I'm retired.
You're retired, man. No, you're not, man. We people see you. You're not retired. You got your little pump now. They see you in Chinatown with the tie lasses.
Why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
There you go. Allegedly. And now Ian is joining the club, by the way. Ian and Mighty Win. He'll set you up, man. He got the blue pills, he got the pump, he got everything, man. You'll never fail, mate. All 90 minutes. You'll be all right.
The pump is broken, man. It doesn't work anymore.
Overused.
Don't need blue pills. Don't need a pump. Thank you very much.
There you go. Get in, Win. There you go. Get in, buddy. Anyways, we'll see you later, folks. See you later. We'll see you.
Away the